Brandon, how are you? Welcome back to another conversation, countercultural conversations. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you again, Mark. I'm really enjoying these. I think it irks some people and makes other people quite entertained in the sense of that somebody's talking about stuff without telling them what to think. They're telling them, "Hey, this is just some stuff that we're thinking and how we can implement in our own personal daily lives." And I kind of like how we're able to contribute to that. So again, thank you for offering your services with this.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoy it, and I feel it's beneficial. I mean, we've got to speak from our heart and about what we're seeing, what we're thinking, because what I'm finding is when if we're seeing it, other people are probably seeing it too and
Hmm.
feeling it.
Or I think this is the birthing pains that the Bible's talking about, honestly,
Mm,
for Revelation. I think that's kind of what it's a quake. It's a spiritual quake, and some of us are over here bracing for it because we were like, oh,
yeah,
we see it after, especially after 2020. We're over here like, okay,
on
that was a
full
little
alert.
rumble. There's like I said it, I think I said this to you even before. Is there anything that they do after that?
Yes, you did. In our
It
first, that
it
was in our first or second interview back in the day.
yes, it's true. I still believe that, as you were
Oh, you
asking.
nailed it. Yeah, you nailed
There
it.
is one third of a group of the MAGA movement that is kind of going, no, this, no, we're
Falling
done.
off, falling out of formation, like, like,
Yeah, it's like we're gonna take you're jumping out of a moving plane. Yeah, we're fine with that. We see where this is final destination is. We're out of here. Bye. And I think that's good because it's kind of making them now ambivalent.
yes,
When I took
They're losing.
my test, I was like an ambivalent Republican or conservative, whatever it was.
Yeah,
And again, they don't equate for libertarian, independent, and again, it's ideologies. I don't promote any political party as a solution. It's just the ideology aspect. And I think when we get these people finally off the bandwagon, well, I know the radical left is crazy,
hmm
and this one is flirting too much with a particular country that
yeah,
should not have this much sway in our politics.
yeah.
I think it's now coming to a point where they're going, is there a third option? And I think that's where somebody like you and I, or this movement, right? That's
Yeah.
where it's becoming a funnel, literally left and right, and you're going now to the straight and narrow. That's literally what's happening, and then we're over here going, yeah, come on, get on board before it's too late, because this is the last chopper out of Nam.
Well, in to that point, talking about what's going on and the influence from the country in the Middle East that starts with an I, ends with an L, it almost feels to me like they're trying to rush it and push it, and they don't have their team behind them. It almost seems like they're way out ahead of people, and meanwhile people are trying to put food on their table, manage their lives, all these other things, and they're coming up with this totally out in left field bizarro topic, and
Yes,
pushing these bills and these anti-Semitism bills. And I'm like, do you realize you've lost your whole, like, 50% or 75? They just feel like they're off in left field. Do you
yes.
sense this as well? They're not
Well, dude,
relevant.
it for me, like I was talking, person that was following me, and they said for networking purposes. I'm like, we're not networking. You barely talk, barely answer your phone. But I'm
Hmm.
looking, and they're doing all this stuff by the border. They're doing journalism, and they're talking about building the wall again. And I'm like, because
Still?
I also noticed because you're telling me because of the trafficking, because of the crime, and all this stuff.
Yes.
Okay, if you really had a heart for trafficking, how come you're not talking about the New York tunnels under the synagogue? Oh,
Yes.
okay. We really want to talk about trafficking? Okay, let's get real. Epstein, who was his employers? That's not a Arabian name. Just
Nope.
saying. Just saying. And we have facts. We can point you to sources if you ask us. We can get you to some Whitney Webb's, One Nation Under Blackmail, Volume 2. We can
Mhm.
get you a little bit of that, or what the Talmud promotes and endorses.
Yes.
You don't want to talk about that, but the minute it comes to immigrants and building a wall on our southern border, so you're telling me the southern border is more important to you than the aspect of humanity in general, of the kids or trafficking or human trafficking in general. This is what you're telling me, is there's a bias because of a skin color and an ethnicity, because you're not going after one group, you're only going after this particular group, right?
Yeah.
So yes, I'm seeing a lot of these bordertarians are even showing their hypocrisy, and I think they're the epitome of hypocrisy. Because at this point, you should be looking at Mr. Xeon Dawn, or
Yep.
Mango Mussolini, call him whatever you will, put that on my record, Mr. Person who's watching. You should be looking at him going, okay, so he's donating his salary again. What he
Yeah.
did? He's going to donate it to charities. He's like, yeah, because he accepted like what 230 million something
Yeah,
plus
plus 100
APAC
million from
money.
Miriam Adelson. Who
Yeah, and
knows
then
that?
Marion Alcindor to boot,
Yeah,
to boot,
yeah.
and
Who
APAC
knows
was
how many
the
other?
highest acceptee of APAC.
75. What did Musk give him? 45 million, 75 million? I forget.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think it was. Well, actually, I think it might have been 47,
40. Yeah. Okay.
which
Okay.
is
Makes
a
sense.
Masonic
Makes sense.
number. But again,
Sure.
dude, for me, it's like we really don't have time to be playing
Yeah.
games. And to answer your question, yeah, I think some people they are seeing that and they're not sticking to build the wall. Or it's like again, in this person, they say they're libertarian. I says, if you're still voting for a political party, like you say you're libertarian, but you keep casting your vote for the red guy, you're not a libertarian.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stop using my adjective. And again, I think best define me as anarcho-libertarian. I'm against government, but
Yes.
libertarian in the community and self-individualism
Mhm.
within my tribe and voluntarism and stuff like that. Like that's again, I think you and I are very
Yeah,
close.
we are. Yeah, I always joke around and I say, I'm whatever is past libertarian,
Mm-hmm.
moving away. And it does go right there. I agree with that 100%.
Because as I was talking with Craig, a lot of people who say libertarian, they're like every one of their candidates, it's like a I don't know, cheerleader that can't afford the pom pom, and they're going out there with cotton balls, going, "We got this,
Yeah.
guys."
Yeah.
No, you don't. You look pathetic as hell. The
Yeah.
sentiments are fine. Your political party sucks. The
Yeah.
sentiments. Let's just try again. Let's live it. I don't need to vote. I don't need no stinking badges. I don't need no government, no license, no this, no that. I was trying
Yeah.
to break that down to my buddy today. He says, "Yeah, well, you have to do that stuff because if you're gonna harvest animals and do this." I'm like, dude, that's statism talk. That's slavery talk.
Yep.
Statism is slavery. What I'm saying is, if I want to go hunt the king's deer, then by golly, I'll go Robin Hood and do it. Like the
Yep.
original with Robert Greene. I really like the 1950s version of that because I thought they captured it perfectly.
Yes.
It was day-to-day society, but also just the premise is that yeah, we're done. King's deer, it's everybody's deer. If I want to go fish and feed my family, that's what I'm going to do. And you're still talking about permits and this and that thing. What Uncle Sam doesn't know, it can't hurt him. And if he wants to
Yeah.
come and find out, well, then guess what, buddy? Is that a
Yep.
threat? I don't know. You guys are threatening me to jail me if I don't pay my IRS taxes, which they still owe me 1,600, and you
Yeah.
guys haven't sent me anything. But
Yeah.
I go to jail if I don't pay, and you guys,
Yeah.
contrast, where's my money?
Rules for thee. That's how it goes. I mean, how
Right,
many
and I'm
times have
done
they
with it, dude.
embezzled and stolen from the American people? That's what
Dude, for
it gets
everybody.
old. Yeah.
They're now so okay, get this. Which administration is paying $1,000 for an individual to self-deport themselves?
Are they doing that now?
Uh-huh. Does that sound like a Biden policy?
I don't know. I mean,
You're
it's the
gonna
first
pay
I've heard of it.
somebody a
Well,
thousand
it does.
bucks
It does.
to
Yeah.
get out from our government? So it's like over here, excuse me, and this is Epic Times. I was like, excuse me, as a citizen, how much do I get paid to stay here?
Yes. Good point.
You follow what I'm
Good
saying?
point.
It's like, okay,
Yeah.
so if you're going to pay people to get out of here, at least $1,000, enough for an airfare, let's say that, right? Okay.
Sure.
Or a good portion to get you a good way there. So if
Sure.
you're gonna pay $1,000, or even then, why are you implementing that now? Because you just scared out of everybody with ICE. And now
Yeah.
you're saying, hey, if you don't want this to happen to you, you can go peacefully on your own. And anybody who's kind of on the fence, like, I'm not sure if I'm legal or not. And considering, all the judges are going after and they're not really, bringing back people for wrongfully terminated. Oh, yeah, I'll leave. I'll leave.
Well, is that so? Is this a recent development? They
Yes.
just rolled out. It sounds like a different kind of a version of what what Israel did back in 1947. Hey, we're going to scare the holy bejesus out of all these Palestinians, so hopefully they leave on their own accord. And now I understand they dropped some leaflets on
Mm.
back in February or January saying, hey, get out. It's wild. The tactics are
Dude,
so similar.
isn't it the irony is that Biden goes, come over here and we'll give you benefits. And now we're getting, get out of here and we'll give you benefits.
Yeah, it's
And it's
wild.
ironic because as Trump's ship was sinking of his administration, leaving his last term, he was the one that signed all of the bills that basically were embargoing the crap out of the Venezuelan government. And
Oh,
I highly
yes.
recommend looking into Telesar, Tele capital SAR English on YouTube with Abby Martin and their stuff with covering that, but explaining the situation of how what he did to the government, right, implemented a tyrannical regime
Yes.
and prompted people to say, this sucks.
Yeah,
So
he's
I'm
strong
gonna start
arming him,
migrating to a
bullying him,
better,
right?
right. You're
Yeah,
gonna migrate to a better option, right?
yeah,
You see that on the TV. You're, of course you're gonna do that. You want to have a better life for your family, and you're hearing of a
yeah,
free offer. Dude, I hate to say it. That's for people who are advocating these stupid borders, especially the UK and America. We have no right. That
yeah,
is
yeah.
literally 98% of our life has
Yeah,
been
we're the problem.
conquest and banana
Yep,
republics.
yep.
Colonialism.
Destroy, conquer, and destroy, and
Yes,
chaos and disruption.
this come to the new world. Why? Because there's plenty of land, and then you get here and you're like, oh, we're
Yeah,
gonna get rid of you. You're it's infeasible. We're gonna put you on a reservation here, buddy. I
yeah.
already reserved this. This is my land. No, we're gonna put you on a reservation that we select for you in the hot Oklahoma country because we don't
Yeah.
want you
Yeah, we don't
here.
want that land. Yeah.
Well, it was because I signed a paper right here. See, you gotta go.
Yep.
You signed paper from tree that I planted. Uh,
Yeah, might makes right. Whoever and this was so. I look around the world, and I never used to see it, before the last couple of years, and I see the totalitarianism, and they're like, you will do this, or you will be,
Well, dude, it started out with colonialism. I was, oh, look, I found it. And nationalism is basically saying no takebacks.
yes,
That's what it's come down to. And you have no right to say that. And I don't
no,
care how many Native Americans, like, I've had other people saying, like, it was the best thing for us. And it's like, granted, sure, you got your casinos and whatnot, but at the same time, I'm looking at some of the squalor conditions that you guys
yeah,
are living in. And I pity that. And I, for one, I renounce it. I'm not proud of what some of them did. At the same time, I look at some of the other ones that are in my family tree, and they were really good people with the
hmm
natives. You know what I'm saying? There's other ones. I think it was Major Waldron. He was one of my grandparents. Look him up. Not a nice guy. The way they killed him, I
yeah,
was like, he deserved it. The guy was a d bag.
hmm
Because they're for me, dude. There comes a certain point where you can't just keep on, and as you said, there are several generations that are caught in this lie.
yeah,
There comes a certain point where you have to break the
yeah. You got to break
generational
the. You got to
curse.
be the one
Right.
breaks
And that's kind of what I'm saying is, listen, and I'm not saying this as a liberal, and I'm not demanding reparations and stuff like that. What I am advocating is I'm sorry. I will now speak out. I will now condemn, and I will try to be the intermediator for both
same,
sides. So when
same.
I'm reading this guy's comment that I was talking about earlier, I'm looking at it going, dude, as a Christian, when you truly wake up, you start condemning both sides. You start
Yes.
calling for the humanitarian aspect because you don't see political parties.
Yep.
You don't see just solely a government. Like, again, I don't need to overthrow the government. The early church did not overthrow the government with swords. They did it by their own testimony and influence. Some people
Yes.
liked it and they were executed, or and they liked it and they converted, and other people were like a leader would become over because people were not buying their idols. The rich men would come over, say, "Hey, get rid of this guy." The magistrate would be like, "Pliny the younger," and start executing him. You Christian? Cool. And to test it, he would basically say, go worship to this thing and throw some sprinkles wherever on the statue." They said they're not a Christian. Basically, if they didn't do it, he's like, "Oh, so you're still a Christian?" Because anybody would worship a secular god that I throw at them. Doesn't matter what it is. But the fact that you're still saying no means you're still a Christian.
Yeah.
Because a
Yeah.
Christian can't do that.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude.
Well, yeah, it is, they, there's just a lot, there's a lot. I think people are waking up at all times. I mean, and it's every weird little thing that doesn't compute. I mean, and again, it's a tally column. It's like, he is a good guy, he's not a bad guy. And the column, like he's not a good, he's a bad guy, is like more marks than the other one. And over time, that tips the scale. And I think that eventually wakes people up, like we talked about, and they kind of fall away from the march of the colt, or the march of the lemmings. I don't know what you want to call
Clones,
it. The what?
clones,
The
March of the
clones,
Clones.
march of the clones, and they're
Because
like,
that's just you just keep doing the same cycle as everybody. What do they say? Two things that are guaranteed in life:
death
death
and
and
taxes.
taxes.
Yeah,
How? What the bleak kind of summary is that? Well, granted, true. It's like, okay, so I get up, I work, run the rat race, I pay my government my permission to keep consenting to this rat race, if you will, this
yeah,
cycle that I have to keep going into and plugging in, plugging out. And then at the very end, you bury me. because
Yep.
I'm no longer functional to the machine. Again, isn't it ironic that they can't really pay out all of the senior citizens with Social Security, and a good
Yeah.
chunk of
They're
senior
busted.
citizens all got the magic stuff
Yeah.
from 2020?
Yeah.
I mean, you'd almost think, dude, um,
Yep.
did we just save our butts from having that being exposed at just the right time? And we're now going from Gen Z to Gen what Alpha, and now we're probably gonna go into a Gen Omega.
Yeah. Bought them a little bit of time. I don't know how much time it
Become
could
your own
buy them. I
gods.
mean, but yeah, it's so wild. It's just wild. And I laugh about it. Even today, I was thinking about like, how are people still trusting these people, well, the other thing I was thinking about today was the the technology of the thing. I was thinking to myself, how many years would it have taken had there not been a crisis, an extreme need to move fast, warp speed? How many years would it have taken for people to slowly come around to that new technology being in the thing? And I was like, it could have taken 10, 20 years. But because we had a crisis, it was 1 year,
Hmm.
2 years. I'm like, I mean, there's so many red flags. It's so wild.
The name of that itself, like I was telling you, the speed of light was 144,000 in the occult. Warp speed,
Yeah,
144,000 in
good point.
Revelation. Connecting also with DNA structure, which is natural. You drop the two P's, you get war seed.
Yes.
For me, dude, it's going, listen, if you're stuck in government, right, which means mind control, mental, and govern to control, if you go by fourth definition, Oxford Dictionary,
Yeah.
just throwing that out there for folks who are going, go look it up. That's one of the chief authority of the English language. You're basically consenting to the idea is that the government's always going to find the best solution outcome for me. And the programs that are invented, like, again, you say you're against socialism, but that is the very concept of socialism, is that you are able to have your nest egg, right? Your retirement is in socialism. Now, let's say they abolish socialism with Doge, right? But we're going to fix it because we're going to replace it basically with a digital universal income for all. Digital communism,
Yeah.
which is what Elon has pitched, is that there'll be universal income for all. So in essence, they get rid of it's kind of like the Fort Knox, right? There's a building. Is there really gold in there? Because again, they tell us we're gonna go in there. Go in there. Why didn't you go in
Trust
there?
us, right? Yeah.
Right. Just trust the plan, bruh.
Trust.
How many times do you need to hear that?
Yeah.
Just keep trusting the plan, or
Oh,
like we read the last time from the White House statement, or the last time before last, whatever.
yeah.
Just
Before the
just
election.
obey. Just obey,
Yeah.
to paraphrase, just obey and everything will be fine. Goodness is rewarded. I was
Hmm.
immediately thinking of Babylon 5. There's a scene where they captured Captain Sheridan in season 4, and they're interrogating him. And as he's sitting in there and he's waiting for 8 to 12 hours till his next torture session, there's this
Hmm.
recording going on. Goodness is rewarded. Badness will be punished, or something like that. Paraphrasing.
Hmm.
And that's literally what I'm seeing in the statement from the White House going, okay, just comply and everything will be fine. What? Do you see how vague that is? But it also is
Yeah.
making me go, put the glasses on. Oh, I'm a slave.
Yeah.
If you don't see a problem with that at this point, you're stupid. And I'm getting tired of these people saying that's neither here nor there if I voted for Trump or this guy. It's the fact you're still contributing to the system.
Yes. Plugged into the system. It's
Right.
wild.
Dude,
Well,
it's wild, but I hate to say it. You and I have admitted, okay, we were in that phase. We don't do
yeah.
that no more. I was never full on
I
MAGA. Never was my number
Yeah,
one candidate.
me neither. I was just like, yeah. I mean, I bought into I like we talked about before the show. I was like, yeah, I thought some of the things he did with the WEF and the historic black colleges and some of the economic things, I was like, okay, these things sound good.
Right.
Now I look at them as pawn, throwing sacrificing a couple of pawns for the greater cause of persuading people to buy in.
Right.
And then it's funny you mentioned that when you're talking about like how just trust the plan. I got off the roller coaster ride real heavy after Biden won, and there was this like, okay, things are going to happen in this day and this time and this thing, and I followed along for like two or three times, like the waiting for the plan to, and I was like,
Right.
and then I felt played, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna step away from the table now, and I just never came back to the table. I was like, I
Dude,
don't care anymore.
That
you know?
yes, I was kind of at the point following Q going, all right, any second now.
Yeah, waiting, hoping.
And I was going, okay, so that was a lie. I'm done.
Yeah,
And it wasn't like a huge coping, because it was
yeah,
more of a, all right,
me
not
neither.
bad. I'd give it about maybe a 3. Maybe there's potential. And then I put it
Yeah,
down. I'm like, no, didn't as you said, it was kind of like, I'm done. You you
yeah. When you're
you
done, you're
literally
done.
just dragged me along and nothing happened. Our military, again, even if it wasn't with Q, you guys did nothing.
Yes,
No pansies. You stood there and did nothing.
yes.
J6, guys did nothing. Well, some of us tried to start. No, you still consented because you went to the freaking psyop.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Because you're,
Unless you've done a 180 and you're exposing it, you're condemning it, you're still part of the problem, dude. And I'm not, even for me, dude, I don't respect veterans to the full extent that people like, oh, just respect me because I have a uniform. I don't respect
yeah,
veterans. I respect per individual. And most
yeah,
veterans that I do respect, yeah, I learned some skills. I had a good life. I was able to travel. But at the end of the day, war is a racket. Smedley
yeah.
D.
They realize that. Yeah,
I respect that. I respect that you say, you know what? I was a gangster for capital. Thank you.
yeah.
I'm not
Huge
saying that to
respect.
demote you. I'm not trying to demean you. What I'm saying, especially as somebody as a Christian, if you finally came to that conclusion, that is worth more than any medal you could get on your chest. Because
Sure.
remember, you're a uniform flag. There is no countries. There is no borders in heaven.
Yep.
The fact that you came to that conclusion, well done, good and faithful servant. You actually came forward. You told the truth. You broke the generational curse of everybody else buying the same lie. Just keep
Yeah.
doing it. As was it Tolstoy? To destroy war, or to end war is to destroy patriotism.
Yeah, I think it was.
Because
It
if you
sounds
if you if
familiar.
you're done with buying that lie, you're never going to pick up a gun for your king
Yes.
and country again. You're done.
Yes.
You're just saying I don't do it anymore because I have, again, whether he was Christian or not, you're not capping your service to God, because you are not a soldier. You are a saint. A saint is set apart. A soldier, soul, sun god, dyer, one who is
Yep.
to die for the sun god.
Wow.
I am not going to die for the sun god. I'm going to be set apart from things of this world, because as a saint, that's what I'm called to do. Does it suck? Yes, but dying to self
Hmm.
daily. And does my life emulate what I'm trying to reflect? Right? I'm a light on a hill. Hide your candle under a bushel. No, I want to let it shine. And what am I pointing to? When they look at me, like I said in the Mummy before, looking at that analogy, when he goes down into the cavern, we can't see anything. Tip the mirror up. It'll go to the cavern where the sun is beating down, bounce off that mirror, and it'll hit all the other mirrors in the cavern.
Hmm.
That's what a Christian is you're promoting the kingdom of heaven. And every time somebody looks at another Christian, that's what lights up the world. And it's not about
Mm.
finding it within, it's about submitting to him. That's what you see in me.
Hmm.
For that cult of con guy, cult of the con, cult of the con. Literally, that's your name. That it's not about me. It is about the message and who am I submitting to.
Yeah. Well, it is. It's interesting. The I always think about this. I joke around with it a lot because it feels like that way. And I was in there. Fool me once, fool me 5,782 times. I mean, eventually, even a dummy like me is gonna go, I'm done.
Right.
I mean, how long, how I laugh about it sometimes. I'm like, um, I've been tricked before by, friends in a jovial way. When I when I was delivering pizzas in college, they gave me an address and I was like, this sounds really familiar. This sounds really familiar address. They're like, okay, well, we'll see you when you get back. It was the address of the pizza shop I was working at, but I didn't put two and two together. And
Love
45
it.
minutes later, I come walking in the door going, well played, gentlemen, well played. you know, I mean, and then I look around and I'm like, why do I see this? Why do you see this and some other people don't? I mean, it's it's not a thing you see with your eyes. I think you see it with your heart. I think you feel it with your spirit. I think there's like, and I always sometimes joke around and say, did the bad guys are the bad guys getting lazy and stupid, or did God upgrade everyone's discernment? How do it happen?
Dude, what if that's the two witnesses?
Mm.
in Revelation is that, again, breathing fire is that they were speaking truth to power. That's scaring the crap out of them. Dude, let's break this down for a second.
Yeah.
We always elites. L could mean in Turkish, as I learned from the guys next door, that means hand, Lord, right?
Mm.
It means Lord, and if you're a lot of Sumerian and stuff like that. So, or Baal. Are they confident in what they're doing? No, because they need spin control, right? They need
Good point.
lies. They
Good
they
point.
need to create
Deception.
controlled opposition. So does that sound like somebody who's confident? No, because you see Shapiro and Charlie Kirk squirm. Does that sound like they're no? Okay, so let's look at the ones that fund them, right? Like Jeff Bezos and all these other people. Why are you building underground bunkers?
Good point.
Why do you feel like you need to build a robot army? Do you feel like that some people are not going to submit and pick up the gun for you?
Yeah,
That they're going to turn
those are
against you?
fear-based things that they fear.
Right. So you're going to get a robot because you're not quite sure if everybody's going to capitulate to what you want them to do. I don't see that as a threat. Because why? I don't fear death. You,
Mhm.
on the other hand, you're terrified of us. The only thing
Yeah,
you
I think about
got
that.
is like a kid. Oh, jingling, 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 jingling. You jingle around the keys just to distract them so they stop crying.
Yep.
That is literally all they got. And again, discernment, set apart, cern, horned ones are known as. Ment,
Mhm.
mind, set apart the horned one from your mind. Yes,
Mm.
you're putting on those glasses from They Live, right? We are the living ones. Again, The Walking Dead.
Yep.
There's a matter of time till they're in jail, and you listen to the scraping of the bars and the intro music. That's what you'll hear is a warden's bar going across the cell doors. On contrast, we're over here going, we don't see anything the same way because we're not
Mm-mm.
from here anymore. Because
No.
something in 2020, like I said, first week, okay, looked around at the extremities everybody else was going, and I'm going, no,
Yeah. Yeah.
not right.
Yeah.
We are going too far as
Yeah.
people who are not supposed to be fearing death. And that, I think that people who are actually doing the word, they actually were taking time to submit and consult God like me. I was just coming off my hiatus humanity for about
Mm.
7 months. I literally just said, you know what? Done working. I'm done doing this. I'll keep paying rent, but I need to process what's going on in here. Okay.
Was that in
Before,
2020? Was that when you took
right in
that?
2019,
Oh, you were in it when it happened. Okay.
it's 2019, I think roughly May, June.
Oh, really?
I just quit my job cold turkey.
Yeah.
Um, again, I told them it was for something else. I lied.
Sure.
I'll admit it.
Sure.
I just said no. I need about 7 months to cope, and I went to school. Dude, it was so fun. I told you this first time. I was having great dates. I was relieved. I
Yeah,
was
you were living.
energized. I
Yeah.
was being natural Brandon for once in my life. And then
Yeah.
2020 hit, and I was like, you just
Authentic.
screwed up everything for me.
Yeah, you were on the path.
I was like, I had my 5 year plan. I knew what I was going to emphasize in. I was going to write this. I was going to go into this thing with acting. I had it all mapped out. And then they did that. And I was like, okay, I got to get up and speak because
Yeah.
I'm going to church. I don't see it. I'm seeing people telling me, like I was just talking to a pastor a couple churches down. Hell yeah, at least we won the election.
I know.
No, we didn't win the election. You voted in the Antichrist, you dumbass.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. It's people think that when you're awake, it means you're conservative. And just because you're
Yeah.
conserving something, like what are you conserving? Because half the time when you and I will press them being like, does this still sound right to you? Like Trump the other day with the interview. Or the thing, you might have seen the clip I posted today. They're literally asking, so, with this whole thing with due process and, upholding the Constitution. And he's like, well, I don't know. I don't know. You're the
Fun-
president. You signed an oath into office where you were
It's
going to
fundamental
defend, yeah, you defend the
foundation.
rights and preserve the things of the Constitution. If we're going by what you guys say, I don't care about it because I know it's bogus, all
Right.
written and all this. But if we're going by your standards, and again, as a citizen, I'm just saying, if we're going by your standards, your law, your terminology,
Yep.
he's saying, I don't agree to this. That's what the
Yeah.
Constitution literally means. You translate it in Latin, folks. I agree to this. That's basically he just said, and he just literally said what? Again, who's to know that's not a psyop?
Yeah, he's like, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, did I ever tell you guys that? Yes, I just told you I'm the lawless one because I just told you I don't agree to that.
Yes.
So in essence, is like I said, if both sides are corrupt, in a sense, they're gonna like, you never said that. Oh, yes, I did, but you never picked up a dictionary, you dumb little plebe.
Well, and that's how they
That,
get us is our
that's how they
ignorance.
think.
Our
Again, I know I
ignorance.
sound crude, and people are thinking, no, I'm just breaking it down because some
You're
people
just
they
being
hear that
yeah, just
they're
being
thinking I'm
honest.
demeaning them. No, I'm saying this is how they are thinking behind
Yes.
closed doors, and I'm being brutal, being like,
Yes.
here's a little magic ball.
Well,
This is
you
what
have
they're
to be at
saying
this point.
about you.
You have to be at this point in the game, and this is why like the people on the left they're exploiting you by your ignorance, or they're exploiting us by our ignorance. This in the other day, I had a moment, and I shared in one of the last videos, I let it fly, and I sometimes, as it reaches what feels like the final hour, it's like pull out the stops, and I was like, this isn't a game and they're not playing. Like, I don't know what it's going to take to wake people up, but this is nearing the end of whatever game they're doing, because all their cover is they're losing people. They're clearly trying to rush something. They're clearly going to pull another, I don't know what, to false flag it, Hegelian dialectic it. I don't know. We know they have the ways and means, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, what is it going to be? Are we going to have a total financial collapse first? Are we going to have a war kickoff first? Are we going to have a false? It's like they have an arsenal of things, levers they can pull, and I'm like, okay, be freaking ready, people.
They don't know how to be ready because everything's a conspiracy or everything is like my
Yeah,
buddy Jack. If you talk about it in their presence, turn it off because I don't want to think about that. Why?
they don't
All
want
I
to talk
know
about
is
it.
I get a rapture before things get really bad. If you're talking about that, you're wasting my time.
Yeah,
Or in the
comfort.
Bible, it says to be sober and vigilant because your adversary, the devil, walketh about as a roaring lion, seeking whom he may to devour. He goes after strays, the weak ones, the ones that aren't part of the herd,
Yeah,
right? This is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be wise as serpents, right? But we're not training that.
yeah,
We're not strengthening the brethren, making
yeah,
disciples. And I'm not saying disciples as in cults, as the other guy was trying to imply.
yeah,
No, and you again, I might clip this and literally tag him. We're not
yeah,
implying that. We're literally saying we are pointing to the way. Follow Christ, the Word made flesh. Look to the
yeah,
Bible. We're not saying look to us. We're telling, as you said, we're in the last hour, possibly. I would say even the last 5 minutes.
yeah.
Real
Feels
here.
like it.
And for me, I'm over here like I'm okay. I'm literally okay if you come to execute me. I have nothing in common with people down here anymore. Dude,
Yeah,
I went to see a movie the other day. Because once in a while, just to get away from
yeah.
it
You
all.
got to decompress.
Yeah, I just was like, eh. It was a meh movie, but the thing is, dude, there was these kids that all came in, like 8 to 10 of them. We all sat down in the front row, laughing, talking loud. Then all five, 2 or 3 would get up, another five would follow, another one would really dun, 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 run past me, and I'm just
Mhm.
going, really? Is this what our world has come to? It literally felt like we were in a movie, and you
Yeah,
got these punk kids from a Death Wish movie, like with Charles Bronson.
yeah.
And I'm
So
just
did
thinking to
it?
myself, I know they're young, but it's like if you're old enough to be an a-hole, you're old enough for an kicking. Uh,
Yes, yes,
that's kind of, and I was this close to starting to like throw my water bottle at him and be like, shut up, because
yeah,
the theater security, like they checked their tickets and that was it. It's like, but you have somebody standing outside the door, but nobody was really stopping them from
yeah,
coming in and out, and they're the provocateurs. So let's
yeah.
stop playing this game. They're ruining the aspect of again just trying to run away from it for a little bit, right? And you're
Hmm.
right in the front row. And maybe that I went there and that's what God wanted me to learn because the movie was kind of meh. But maybe that was a little bit of an aspect of saying, yeah, people are right there, front center stage and row, and they
Totally
don't
oblivious.
how they look, yeah, how they
Yeah,
look to everybody else that's really trying to pay attention to what's going on.
yeah,
They're just playing around, playing stupid games, and some of us are going, "Could you get away for a moment? Because we have something we're focused on
yeah.
here."
There's something important going on here. I know you're being silly, but well, the other thing, and I got to do a short about this because again, I just like at this point, like we have to have some fun with it, like yeah, and lighten up about it a little bit. And again, we might have talked about this before. Like at this point, the call is clearly coming from inside the house, and some people are like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Yeah, what's going on is like you better turn around and watch what's behind you. That's what's going on."
Well, dude, it's like we were just saying prior to getting into this. You're waking up, spawning into a video game. And the thing you're
Yes.
spawning into is like, again, it's all blurry. Your
Active
vision's
war
blurry.
zone.
Someone's screaming at you like, "Come on, let's move,
Soldier.
urgency!" And they're just going, "Oh, pick up this
Yes.
gun over here. You're going into a battle zone." You're just like,
Yes. Lock
"Oh,
and
okay."
load, soldier.
And it's like you don't have time to hit pause because this is how the game
No.
begins. I hate to tell you this. This is where
Yeah.
we're at. And some of us are, again, someone was asking me, as my buddy today, as we were driving around, he says, "Do you think, angels and demons and stuff like that are real?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And there's some videos and clips where people are rescued or somebody tapped them on the shoulder and then the guy turned around and they just avoided this,
Yeah.
car from hitting them. And I'm going, yeah, I'd have to say that's divine interference right there. That's like I can't explain that. But my
Yeah.
own
You, yeah.
double
Who
barrel
won't?
rope just missed the telephone pole. Not a coincidence. I get out and I see the my Bible on top of this glass shattered window.
Yeah.
And then when I was listening again, possibly true, possibly not, but in Vietnam, they originally were starting with red lenses, and the
Oh,
guy
you
was
told
starting to go
me.
shit, and they're like, "What the frick is wrong with you? High or something?" Because you almost hit the other chopper. He says, "No, I see demons. They're all flying at us." Because he was wearing that particular lens. So this is why they switched over to green. Allegedly, again,
Yeah.
there's no solid proof because the military. But I was going, I think that's true. And if you're talking, Heidi Love was talking with the rabbi, and he says, yeah, they're all over the place.
Wow.
Notice
I
don't
don't
even
doubt
go
it.
to the toilets for too long because the creepy collies are literally all over the place. Like there's times, dude, I've been in the other room and this computer that's sitting right here, dude, it just starts. I was like, I
Yeah.
didn't hit play. The mouse is off.
Yeah.
There wasn't like a jolt of electricity from a thunderstorm. What the frick was that? For all I know, for intents and purposes, my guardian angel is going John Wick in my living room, and I'm over here eating a bag of potato chips.
Yeah. You never know. Right around you could be happening.
Prepping something. Like we do not understand
Mm-mm.
what is going on around us, but one side is desperately trying to possess us. The other one's saying, "I want to indwell you.
Yeah.
If you will have me, I will be your abode." Um, or I will abode in you. As Christ was saying, he says, "You guys don't know who I am because you guys are not truly following in the light," which is
Yeah.
what is the light? Thy word is a lamp unto my feet. If you understood the word, Christ made flesh, you would understand who I am. But because you mix with things of this world, you are of your father, the devil. And because you are teaching everybody how to walk away from Christ by tainting the doctrine, there is a double curse unto you, you den of
Mm.
vipers.
Yeah.
That's what's going on. And if I could, dude, I got a comment. And do you remember when I posted the video of the Christian preacher saying that it's not for our duty to be part of the government? It's not your Christian duty to be voting. Your Christian duty.
Maybe it sounds vaguely familiar.
I think his name
That's where
was
you got.
Reverend Lawrenson, but this guy wrote this comment. It's named Prometheus Lens, and he goes, "This that is his perspective.
Mhm.
Doesn't make it truth. My perspective, we were made in the image of God. He is the King of Kings, and we are his lords over this realm. I find that as a bit of a red flag. We are not lords, we are ambassadors. To call ourselves
Mm.
fellow lords, that's a bit of a red flag,
Good
terminology
point.
wise. We are given dominion or lordship of this realm. Dominion, yes. Or are we given a certain jurisdiction
Title. Yeah.
to uphold? I will give him that. How we
Mhm.
rule, the leaders we elect, and the decisions we make reflect the king which we represent. And if this place turns to shit, it's because we let it. Now, again, Hosea 8 4 cancels out what he's saying about elect, because as they select kings and they elect princesses without my say.
Good point.
So that's already canceling out where that's going. Is like, and then even Gideon in the book of Judges, I will not rule over you, nor will my son. Why? Because we're submitting to God the Father. The whole significance of the story of Gideon, dude, is that he's getting this huge army to rebel against the people that have invaded the land. And God's saying, get rid of this, the group that drinks like this, get rid of them. But
Mm.
wait, I'm going to have no, just do it. What about this group? Get rid of them too. And he calls it down to 300, right? We have the movie The 300 with it. Yeah, you
Yeah.
had the 300 originally with God. And how do they win the war? They screamed, they dropped jars, and the freaking enemy started, panicking. Half of them kill each other in the middle of the night, thinking they were
Mm.
surrounded, and the rest were able to be slaughtered because they didn't know what was going on.
Hmm.
Did man do that? No. God
Oh
literally
my
trolls
God.
Gideon. He's saying, "Oh, look, you're doing a wine press in the middle of the night. Well, hello, brave, weary, soldier of Israel," or something like that. He's like, yeah.
Yeah.
So then he goes on. He says, "There is extremes in both cases, I know, but what I can't stand is people who talk like this pastor and sit on their hands and do nothing and let the world spin into chaos as they prey on it and say it's all in God's hands." All caps. No. Contrary. If we were truly living the word, we start making people go, "You don't have any faith in things of this world?"
Good point. Good
Why?
point.
Because, yeah, the things of this world are dead to me, right? I'm dead to again, that's the whole premise of baptism. I'm going to let the old man stay down here,
Hmm.
biblical cosmology, waters above, and I'm going to become a new creation because Christ is the word made flesh. Genesis 1 and John chapter 1 will explain that. It's the same thing. So, how are we new creation? Because we are born again through the word of God. New Testament is updated user terms of agreement. We are celestially born again. We are not of this world. If you truly accept Christ, the old man dies to self down here. We have no business with governments.
Hmm.
He goes on to say, he out it out in our hands. Of course, pray, seek the will of God, but God isn't a magic lamp genie. You got to work. You got to take steps in action. Noah on the boat, he will meet you in the middle. No. Again, Hebrews 11. What does it say? By faith. What they did they meet God in the middle? Not necessarily. They
Hmm.
were already living their life. God came to them, gave them a prompt. It's like, Abram, I need you to go over here. Noah, I need you to build this. Gideon, I need you to do this, right? By faith. Did they know what it was going to be? No, but they were already vessels that were
Hmm.
living
Yeah.
decent enough that God tapped them on the shoulder and says, I'm going to use you.
Yep.
Right? Had nothing to do about kings, had nothing to do about politics, had
Good
nothing to do
point.
with that. Again, meeting somebody halfway somewhat. But the thing is more so you were already living your life and he chose to use you as the vessel. And this is how your
Mm.
name got written down in the Bible as an example of what to strive for. So I'm 40 years old, seen a lot of stuff in my long Christian walk. People with the extreme mindset of this pastor above, in my opinion, is the reason the world is in so much chaos right now. They are sitting on their hands doing nothing, sitting on their hands, she put setting, sorry, because they believe it's not their responsibility and the rapture is taking them out so they don't have to deal with it face.
Hmm.
Now I'm chuckling because the name he chose, Prometheus, is the god that stole fire from the heavens. And when you look up the painting of
Mm.
Prometheus, he's going like this, the
Is
Masonic
he?
hush pose. So I'm
Yeah.
chuckling because it's like, dude, you're claiming Christian, but you're naming yourself after a pagan god,
Yeah.
right? It's like, okay, that in of itself, let's just pause, let's reflect on this thing, right? And it's not to condemn, it's not to bash, but it's more of a let's break down what you're saying because we're not sitting on our hands. Right now, what are we doing? We are having a countercultural conversation of how
Hmm.
don't just listen to Shapiro because we need to defend the coast and land because I say so and it's really good and beneficial for our government, blah 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 blah. No, we don't care about our government. We care about eternal souls over
Yeah.
temporary borders, right? We don't have borders in heaven. Well, what about the bad? Yeah, they're still bad people. I'm not going to deny you that. And again, I'm not a pacifist where we just, don't ever defend ourselves. No,
Right.
we have the right to defend ourselves. If they come to us, yes, right. At the same time, we are not going to provoke the fight like with Peter.
Mm-mm.
That's kind of what I'm almost thinking is like Peter. Yes, it's not. The premise is it's not the time for war. That's not what I need you guys to do. I have you as my disciple because right now we're not starting with swords. We're starting now with winning people over with our
Good
character.
point.
This
Yeah.
is what he meant. I'm going to strengthen the brethren, right? He says, I'm not going to deny you. Denies him 3 times later on. Feed my sheep. If you love me, feed my sheep. If you love me, feed my sheep. Then he even has to break it down further, saying, Peter, I'm not just talking about your ethnicity, buddy. We're talking about the Gentiles too. Really?
Hmm.
Yes. It's not exclusive. And again, First Peter 3:15. People ask of the hope and faith that's within you. Our character conversation, right? If you're reading Philippians 3:20, it says that our conversation and or our citizenship is in heaven. If you're going by the other translation, it's like so conversation equals citizenship of what you represent, And if you're going by the other one, it says our citizenship is in heaven. So you're saying conversation and citizenship is almost the same, varying on
Mm.
translations. What does that tell you? That you don't even speak like things down here because you're
Yeah.
not from here.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'll throw it back to you. But that's just some stuff I read that and I'm just going like, dude, do you
It's
hear?
subtle. Yeah. Go ahead. So but see, and I don't see it because you know it so much better. Were able to pull out the subtle. To me, they seem subtle.
Per
Tease.
paragraph? It's just, again, it's what were you saying before?
Mm,
Is that like myself? I would read a dictionary before going to bed when I was a
mhm.
teenager. And now it's again like my teacher that I really liked. I didn't learn this at the Christian school. I learned this at a secular college. And is this guy like an extreme, like far left liberal? No. Does he probably lean that way? I would say yes, given the state that we're in. However, what did he teach me? Don't just solely read a story for the sake of reading a story. Try to read between the lines of what's being
Yes.
implied and said. Was this a dig? Was this like, was this technically a undertoned insult what Shakespeare wrote here? Was, break it down. Try to understand where they're coming from. Try to apply philosophies or in scripture and everything else, like, filter it.
Yeah.
Don't, again, this is the problem. Like we were watching that thing with Kirk, and this guy's reading going, oh, and Christ boiling an excrement in hell, Charlie drinking his little water, and his mother was a whore that made it. Yeah, those are all valid verses, blah 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 blah. And then he's like, "Thank you for your questions today." And what does everybody else do in the background? Yeah, clap.
Yeah.
Yeah, good job, Charlie. You schooled
Yeah.
them. Did they even understand what the kid was talking about?
Probably not.
No. But
Probably not.
that's the problem. Is my hero, my leader, said everything I wanted to hear,
Yeah.
but I myself, I have no idea what the other person's talking about. This
Yeah.
is scary, but this is why they are scared of us, and this is why Stephen the martyr is so significant as being the first person to die for our faith outside of Christ, because he's saying, yeah, Christ is silent. I'm going to read your whole history right now. And I know they're angry, God, but don't account it unto them. I said my piece, and we're still reading about it today
Hmm.
of what they were doing behind closed doors. And then people like myself that dug into the occult, I know what he's saying now in this passage. It's not just solely condemning Pharisees, it's going into the practices of what they were doing and why
Yeah.
we should be abstaining from what they are doing. And what he's promoting is Bellarmine theory, which is again, it was the influence of the Declaration of Independence and is basing the concept that we need worldly governors. And ironically
Yes.
enough, it connects with a Jesuit again.
Framing it. Yeah. Like you need it. They have there's no other choice. You
Right.
got to
It's like
have it.
we don't need a lead door of this world to make things right. And whether his sentiments are right or wrong, whatever, that's irrelevant. I understand where he's coming from, but the thing is, you're then saying we need a substitute before God.
Yes. Middleman.
And
Yeah.
what is substitute? It's another word for antichrist.
Yeah. Good point.
Vicar of Christ, replacement of Christ, substitute until he returns. Wait a minute. So you're now telling me presidency or leader wise can there be such a thing as a chief? Yes, but here's the thing. Chief or king? Chief is more so I got here because I'm an elder.
Yes.
A king is I claimed it. I fought for it. It's my dominion. The chief is more I'm just an elder in the village, but we all
Oh,
speak
yeah.
at the Agora Lodge, right? We all have our young warriors come to the lodge. Every woman is known as mother because it's feminism,
Hmm.
femininity. Sorry, femininity that we defend over feminism, right?
Hmm.
What I'm breaking down, dude, is I hear what you're saying, but now let's look at again what was the early church being known for? I was just telling you before. Galen was noticing a lot of people were gravitating to schools of philosophy, and they're always saying, "Yeah, worship the teacher." And they're doing
Mm.
the same thing when he's looking at Christianity, like, oh, "Okay, so worship their Christ, whatever." Okay, but it was more so. It's hard to perceive this as a faith because I grew up with the background of philosophy, and a lot of people that are growing into the philosophy thing, um, they become absolutionists. They become cocky and prideful, and they start following it because of the click and the status, right?
Hmm.
So it's like if you want to put a modern comparison, I'm an influencer for TPUSA, right? So
Mm.
Turning Point USA,
Yes,
and then
yes,
you get
yes.
all the likes, you get all this stuff. It's like, oh, I took a selfie with Charlie Kirk or this speaker at that event and stuff. So
Yeah.
now it's becoming a sophist, where we get the root word for sophisticated. I'm
Hmm.
falling in love with that's your truth. And if that's what you want to follow, that's totally fine. And you're trying
Yes.
to not even implement what it was originally taught.
Yeah, you've been led
Hey,
astray.
you take the adjective, but you don't actually live it. And
Yeah.
sadly, a lot of Christians,
I
churchians,
know.
they're taking
Yeah.
the adjective Christian, but they're actually churchians because they actually are not applicational. And again, going into the I Venn diagram that I've shown you before, institution, ideology, individual. You as the individual are being influenced by both of these other
Yeah.
spheres, right? And you come out of her, my people, lest you receive of her plagues, as we get in Revelation. We're
Hmm.
trying to become individualism, right?
Yes.
Libertarian. Again, it's the sentiments of libertarianism, which Klaus Schwab himself has said he really does not like it because it then makes people not want
Yeah,
to
it's a
relate.
thorn in his side. Yeah, it's a that
Yes,
they're independent, like you said, individual. They
right.
don't
And
want
then
it.
again, if you're scared of individualism, what does that mean? If my fellow warriors all want to team up and go on a war party with me, we
Yes,
have the right to choose to do
we can
that.
choose to
And
do. We can, yeah. And
right.
yeah,
And then
well,
what does that mean? It's like, oh wait, you don't have a leader telling you that? You don't have some legislation dictating?
yeah,
You can just independently choose? Yeah. Does that
yeah,
seem
individual free thinker. And that's what I get a lot from G. Edward Griffin.
perfect?
He talks a lot about collectivism, individualism, and he's like, hey, collectivism, that's the bad news. You will be hosed over. If you're an individual, you a free thinker, you can think for yourself, that's the way to go.
No.
And to have a society of individuals that also come together and solve problems and I mean work together instead of this collectivism, that's the bad news.
Well, dude, and that's what's healthy is that that's what and again, people used to do this. And you might have a little
Yeah,
bit more, you have like what, 20 years on me, maybe
yeah,
15, let's give it
20.
that.
Yeah,
To 15 to 20. And there used to be a thing where they were saying with politics where you could vote this side or that side, and it wasn't so divisive as in
sure.
you're gonna freaking, come in my house or again, I'm not saying
There
we're
was
there.
not polarity, it wasn't
Right.
tension, but they've been ramping it up with the psyops for decades.
It's
Well,
Pavlov's dogs with the politics,
yeah,
honestly. And it
for the ones that are susceptible to it. Not everyone buys it, but still.
Well, it's creating keyboard warrior trolls. And again, they see
Yes.
a post or a meme and then they just go ha ha, but they don't really understand. You don't understand what anarchy is. We're not promoting chaos. It's like, well, there'll be warlords and all this stuff. That's your government.
Yeah, that's the
What we're
belief that they've
promoting
planted in your mind.
is we're just done with a government in general.
Hmm.
We'll live our own lives. Again, when he said dominion, in a sense, libertarian. What?
Yeah,
As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. You guys want to serve the gods on the other side of the Euphrates as your
go
fathers
for
did?
it.
Yeah. But as for me and my house, this is what we're doing. And as the man, again, he's saying, my house, the man is going to lead as I'm supposed to. Adam should have picked up a rock or asked God to intervene when Eve was starting to talk with the serpent,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
That should have been your first recourse of action because as the man, you were supposed to be the, I'm sorry, nope, don't let him influence you like that. God, again, walked with me. He specifically said, don't do this.
Hmm.
I don't care how
Well,
many offers. I don't care how slick his ways
yeah.
are. He said, don't do this. We don't do it
We
because
need
why?
each other to
Love
we
him.
need to remind each other often, different times and
Yes.
different places. One of the things that
Yes.
perplexes me is the connection of and we both sides get sucked into this. It's like, oh, when the government's you know brandishing their sword and getting things you want done and oppressing other people and making them do certain things, you're rah rah hooraying. Meanwhile, but the critical thinker would go, oh, this is pretty dangerous. When am I going to be next? And this is what
Right.
I try to convince people from, that say they believe in pharmaceutical companies and, the thing that they forced upon
Z19
people.
era. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, your time is coming. There will be a time when you won't believe in something and you won't want the government to impose it and push it on you, and no one will be there to speak up for you, you
Right.
know.
Right. And that goes into the other thing. So I can pull that up.
Yeah, go ahead.
That wonderful comment that I got from what's his freaking name? Oh, Dan. Trying to find exact phrasing because if I paraphrase, it won't be as well.
Yeah, poignant.
Well, not even just pointing, but it's actually just getting the aspect. I want people to know that these are real individuals. These are real interactions that you and I
Mhm.
are. We deal with these people on the daily. And he wrote again with the video that you saw. We're talking about, yeah, okay, so if it's happening to them, when is it going to come on me? And when I was talking in the video, I'm saying all you people with little age or new age, no age, Satan's little
Middle of the
season.
season, yeah.
He goes, "Why do you bring up Palestine? Why do you think? What do you think we should do about it?" Excellent question, and I have answered this. I've done a again, not he just recently came to my channel. Like you
Sure,
know anything about me? If you looked on my
sure.
Rumble, I'd have a almost pressing 5 hour show. No such thing as a Holy Land. I have a Steven Sizer interview that's explaining the origins of
Mm.
dispensationalism. Right? I have talked about this. It says you love to act like nobody will do anything, but the reality is that you are a coward, projecting your insecurity on everybody else. Put out a video saying the US government is illegitimate and needs to be overthrown by believers. You are a man of action? Called to arms then? You won't, coward. Contrary. One Nation Under
Mm.
Satan. That was almost a 3 hour episode breaking down Rulers of Evil by Tupper
Yes.
Sasi that is explaining the Jesuit Masonic origins of the country. And I am advocating that we just get done with politics. And another episode that was right before that, Lesser of Two Evils.
So he doesn't even know you.
That's what I'm saying. Is you literally just came to my channel, you watch one episode, you watch one 11-minute clip where I'm venting about this stuff, and you're saying I never say any of this stuff. I have.
Yeah.
Have I called
Oh,
for physical violence or no? I'm saying by our character. Did you bother to see that halfway? No. But this is the comment you're going to write? Okay, we're calling you out. By the way, it's the Cult of Khan. You want to look them up on YouTube. All one
mhm.
word. You love to talk behind a camera, but won't even discuss this topic with anyone. You
Mm.
are pathetic and weak. Okay. I have talked about
Wow.
I'm talking with you right now. I have talked with my buddy while we're driving
Infinite.
around.
Yeah.
If he's watching this, hi Dana. I've talked to him about it specifically. I have mentioned it when I was at my buddy's house, and what did they tell me to do? Shut up!
Zip it. Yep.
Don't play that in my house. Okay, I have sent reels to my mom's boss, a documentary, "The Other Israel,"
Hmm.
by Ted Pike. You can watch
Yeah.
that for free on YouTube, folks. Great breakdown on the Talmud and what it implies for goyim. Did in that reel left unseen, never watched. I have sent this to people. I have talked to people that I know locally. I have literally pleaded with a pastor, and he was telling me I was anti-Semitic for literally
Yeah.
just pointing this out. So here's the thing. You have people that are writing these comments. They don't even know you, but I am literally going, if you knew me, you would be knowing the golden rule. And since I'm looking on your channel and I'm seeing you do this and all this other stuff, and again, that was for reference purposes,
Yeah.
I'm seeing you use that as thumbnail. I don't care about your stupid clickbait. Okay? That's not something a Christian should be affiliated with.
Mm-mm.
Ephesians 5:11 have no part with fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. So by your actions and your own words, what you're again, you're saying I'm projecting. What are you doing to me?
Yeah.
Because your thing is cult of the con. I'm called manna daily. Manna, submitting to the word of God, right? The word of God is what gives us life. This is Christ, right? I am the bread of life. Revelation 2:17, right? The hidden manna I will reveal to him. Revelation, lifting of the veil.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying? One is saying I'm submitting to the word of
Yeah.
God daily as my source and my guidance to how to help the ecclesia guardrail their lives. You, in contrast, cult of the con? Conspiracy? Are you conning people?
Good
Come on,
point.
buddy. Use your full word.
Good point.
You know what I'm saying? Because I could go on a whole thing just on that, saying, okay, he says con, so therefore he means he's a con man, and therefore all the videos you're watching on his channel. Do you see what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
don't want to
It's
do
clear as
that. I
day.
don't have to do that. But I'm
Mm.
reading your name, Prometheus, Cult of the Con. Do you hear yourselves?
Yeah. Clearly they do not.
Is that something that promotes the kingdom of heaven, or does that make me look into a pagan god? Or does that make me kind of, because your words, your actions, you will know them by
Yeah.
the fruit,
Yeah.
right? Your words are your fruit. Would you not say so, Mark?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
wrote a book.
Fruits and
You put
actions.
your
You,
name on said book. Do you
yeah.
not think that would apply to you if they want to know the source? You think it doesn't matter? Well, it does, because as we've been saying before with Hollywood, copyright
Yeah.
infringement. You can't post this because this is our video. If you're citing somebody's work and you don't exactly say who you're citing, what
Yeah.
is that called?
Plagiarism.
Thank you. So it is a
Hmm.
thing where when you cite somebody, you say so and so. The same
Yeah.
thing with the Bible. Every time the prophet spoke, thus saith the Lord. It's not about us, dude. It's about the message. And because people don't understand that, it's saying when I'm calling out what's going on in Palestine, I'm calling out that that's going to come in my own backyard one of these
Yeah.
days. You're saying,
You're
why are you
sounding
bringing
the
that
alarm
up?
like the sheepdog.
That
Yeah.
thank you. That's what we're supposed to do.
Like there's a
That is what we're,
problem.
and if you have a problem with that, and even then, I don't want followers. That's one of the first 3 minutes.
Yeah, you're doing it
Not about followers. I
for the
want
right
fellow
reasons.
doers.
Yeah.
Stop telling me how to start pruning and start getting out and doing. I looked on his thing. He's
Hmm.
another little seasoner.
Yeah.
Little seasoning, right? Little
Well,
seasoning.
clear.
I don't see you doing anything for the kingdom of heaven at hand to
Yeah.
recruit souls back to the original and or for a second return. I don't see that with them. I see them becoming apathetic and nihilistic. And the words that they use
Yes.
like this, how am I supposed to support this?
Yeah.
This is your hero? This? A guy
Yeah.
that stuffs his face testing out food? Not that that's bad, but I'm saying
Hmm.
you have the right to come to my thing, and that's what you mainly produce in other videos where you're putting questionable thumbnails of
Hmm.
occultic origins?
Hmm.
Shut up, good sir. And yes, I'm pulling my Punisher card. I'm calling you out. You want to do a debate? I'll have Mark host it for you.
Yeah. Well, I'll host it. Well, plus they missed the point. They missed the point. It's like, why would you attack another truth speaker
Truth
and
there, right?
seeker? I'm like, and do person who is doing taking action to sheepdog style. It's just so silly. Like it just there's no time for it. There's no time for it. You can clearly see where their mind is.
Well, if
If
you were
you're,
truly another truther, as you just said,
Mhm.
we're having conversations. We're trying to prompt
Yes,
people
you're not
to.
attacking. Oh, you're wrong, or you're doing it this way.
I
No.
don't need to do hit pieces. I'm literally just quoting a single comment.
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying? There's a
Yeah.
big difference because with the other thing, you're over here. You didn't watch any of my other work. And
Yeah.
again, I say in that video, you want to watch my testimony. You have a problem with me just venting my testimony.
Yeah.
Literally, that's your problem.
Yeah. Which
Oh,
is
you're not passing
wild.
the smell test. What smell test? Because you're the one with the name with a cult. I'm over here saying, no, look to the word, submit to Christ. I look, be wary for the king's return, like the bridesmaid. Like, here's the lamp, here's the oil. I'm giving you discernment, oil for your
Hmm.
lamp, so that you can do likewise. And you are gonna argue with me?
Yeah.
Like, dude,
Yeah.
for me, I think we've talked about this before. Politics is kind of like the popularity contests in high school.
Hmm.
And right now, what I'm seeing with people like this in the comments, they're over here saying, "Oh, your dress looks better than me, or you're wearing corsage," and then they rip it off the girl's
Yes.
dress, and then they're over like, "Oh my god, oh my god," and then it starts up being this
Yes.
whole fight where they're pulling out their
Jealousy.
hair, and I'm just going, I ain't got time for this. You know what? If that's
No.
how my date acts, I'm gone. I'm getting in the car, driving off. That's it. I'll go
Yeah.
catch a late night movie by the lake. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You don't even engage, wouldn't even engage. Like, I don't, yeah, not only do I not have time for this, I don't even have time to engage in this. Like, I'm
Right.
done. I mean, this is so,
It's
there's so
dusting
many
off
bigger
candles
things going
because
on.
at this point, dude, we're called to call out false teachers.
Hmm.
And if you're providing a different gospel, a different timeline, or you're promoting something that's like he was already here and he left, and you're basing it off of physical structures when he was emphasizing his body is the only thing physical you got to worry about, and where is his body? He ascended, right? So now we're
Yeah.
going to focus on a destruction of a 70 AD temple as the start of the new little season theory, a
Yeah.
physical thing of this earth. No. And it's not about finding it within. It's not about, again, a lot of new agers seem to gravitate towards it. Again,
Yeah.
everybody gets upset, but I'm like, sorry to tell you this. What was I telling you with the date? The Yaga Kali?
Oh, well, is it Kala Yugi? Is it
Yeah,
Yaga?
something of
Yeah.
that nature.
The
But
Hindu is in a Hindu, there's a Hindu
it's
thing,
Hindu,
right?
but it connects very similar, scarily to say,
Yeah.
with Alice
Kala
Bailey's
Yugi.
2025, where their Antichrist figure, their savior of the world's going to take the stage.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, all the planets were mostly aligned except for the exception of Mercury, connecting with Hermes, which Trump has name etymology to, on Inauguration Day, the age of
Mm.
Aquarius, the new age. And, you know, hand as above, so below, because he didn't put his hand on the Bible. It's just stuff
Yep.
like this, dude, where I'm going, she's even saying that age Like, if you look it up, because I had to look it up, I bothered to look up what people comment, and that's roughly 5,000 something year theory. The early church fathers were saying, okay, when the second and third century, Irenaeus and I can't remember the other guy's name, but if you ask me, I can tell you. Um,
Hmm.
they were saying when Christ returns, it'll be like a day is as 1,000 years, 1,000 years is as a
Yes.
day. And again, if Christ was here roughly around the 4,000 something year period mark, right?
Hmm.
What you have with communion also would fit. Because if we understood communion, we would understand a little bit more about when Christ returns. Why do I say
Hmm.
that? Because, like I've explained before, when a dad was vetting a man for a son-in-law for his daughter, he would pour a glass of wine, make sure I vetted you, make sure you're good, make sure you don't have a criminal
Yeah.
reputation, you have a feasible lifestyle that be able to provide and support her and grandchildren potentially, all this good stuff, right? It's good, not patriarchy. It's I'm vetting him, making sure
Hmm.
he is worthy and qualified of what I would call another man of dominion, right? He's able to
Hmm.
lead his own home. So then I'm going to take the rest of that wine and hand the rest of that drink to you in a tier where you can say, yeah, not too keen. You say that, okay, we'll go back to the drawing board, we'll find another suitor. But if
Yeah.
you accept to drink of that cup, you are acknowledging, I accept the Father's selection of the Son that he has provided me with. And what did the young man do? Well, during the Eurasian period, the young man would then leave for about a year or two to build a structure like they do in Palestine to add on to the family house to induct in your new bride and
Mm.
joining the family. And what does he say to his disciples? I go to prepare a place for you up in
Yeah.
my father's house. Because in my father's house there's many mansions. If we're not true, I would not have.
Yeah.
So what does this mean? So if Christ left and you have 1 or 2 years while you're building the mansions customized for those who are going to be your bride of Christ, ecclesia,
Hmm.
that's exactly 2 years, 2,000 years. And then he returns and he collects us. And what would be significant if it happened to be in 2029? If it did, because April Fool's Day is on Easter
Is it?
of 2029. Yeah. I said, let's say they killed us off during that week, Tuesday, and then we're dead. The bodies of the saints, the two witnesses, are in the
Hmm.
streets for 3.5 days. As opposed to going to the Last Supper, it would reverse itself, and he brings us up for the marriage feast of the Lamb.
Mm.
It's beautiful book and symmetry. It would make
Yeah.
so much sense, dude. Because those who were awake, those who were shining their oil and were warning people not to fall for the pharmakia, the nations were deceived by their pharmakia, by the merchants,
Hmm.
Revelation 18:23, that would make a lot more sense. But there's other people are saying, don't worry, he's up in Alaska, no, the North Pole. He'll come back and then we'll all figure it out.
It's just a lot. There's a lot of faith. There's a lot of faith. Just have the leap of faith, but it's easy.
Well, it's a leap of faith, but that's
It's an
very
absurd
vague,
leap of
and
faith.
yes, it's absurd because it gets rid of the Colosseum timeline, it gets rid of Hadrian's
Mm.
Wall, physical structures. Well, God didn't build a Colosseum. He didn't build it.
Yeah,
That
it
thing
was
is.
built for bread and circuses. So they're
Thank
saying
you.
that the Colosseum was built for something else and they repurposed it. Is that what they're
That's what they would have to say because
big
they're like, oh yeah, well
stretch?
this stuff was. Thank you, because that has no jurisdiction.
It was built for other purposes, and it just happened to be the most appropriate bread and circuses venue on the planet. Just miraculously
Well, dude, and then
wild.
even the Nika, I think of Nita, right? It's is during Justinian's reign, but basically the two sides were having favorite color factions. Or this is how they start identifying themselves with teams. And I was going,
Mhm.
this is literally NFL. This is literally like for
Yes.
me, when I was looking that up, I was watching this thing at the puppet history, but it was breaking down for fun. And then I looked into it and I was like, this literally sounds like the origins of sports teams, and you're wearing the merch of your team. So you're now telling me this just doesn't exist. Spartacus's rebellion was in like what 71 AD. You're telling me that just never happened. So you're telling me when I'm watching this stuff, it's all fiction, and because it's a matrix. Matrix is a term in the Kabbalah. You hear
Mm.
what I'm saying? So in a sense, you're telling me I'm not of that, but again, New Ageism is Freemasonry. Is
Yeah.
that we'll ascend to become like gods. We just have to look within. It can be any deity, and eventually we'll all find that inner
Do
enlightenment.
as thou will kind of a thing, right?
Thank you. And that's
Yeah.
kind of what I'm seeing. Little Season is, in a sense, it's an offshoot. It's like a. I'm not
Is
sure what
it
you. Well, when were you born? What year?
73?
73. So you were right around in the hippie. That's kind of what this feels like.
End
It's
of
like
it,
a
yeah.
reboot hippie movement for the
Does
21st
it? Oh,
century.
yeah. Okay. See, I don't know much about the Little Seasons
It
through
doesn't
other
need
than
long
through
hair
you.
and all the fancy clothes, but it's more of
Modernized,
when
updated.
he returns, man. We just need to work our way through this matrix.
Just
And there's so many
which is
variations that
always dangerous to have that mentality of just let
yeah,
it flow, man. Just go with the flow, man.
it doesn't need psychedelics or anything. It just needs just trust me, bro.
Yeah.
Well,
It's gonna all work out, man.
right. And when
Like
I press
how
you
is it
as
gonna
to
work out?
why, you refer me either to scriptures and you just say, keep reading it again, keep reading it again. I read it and I'm coming to a different conclusion reading it. Or you refer me to your leader. Or you're like, oh, well, I'm going to report you, and your name's going around now, and because you're blocking everybody, you're being reported as a false teacher. Because I come to a different agreement of what you're interpreting with
Yeah.
scripture. My again, a false teacher would be saying Christ is not the way.
Yes.
My if I was a false teacher, I'd be saying there's more than one way to God. No, in the
Yes.
contrast, what am I telling people? Get away from your government. I can't do that. Get away from your Christmas tree. I can't do that. Get
Yeah.
away from why? I'm advocating change of character. Stop doing traditions of men, right? I'm
Yeah.
helping you process, and I know it's hard, but I'm explaining to you cultically this
Mhm.
is what they
The
do and believe,
origins.
and you're
Yeah.
doing a mild portion of the same thing. If you cut yourself off from that, you'll start seeing more like you and I. And it's not from better than thou as other people's branding. We're not all at your level. You're not supposed to be, and I'm not trying to say levels. I want you to join me in the vineyard and work side alongside me. There is nobody better than somebody else in this business.
Yeah.
Problem is, I'll keep talking, and you guys keep sitting on the sidelines throwing tomatoes at me.
Yeah.
Stop
And
doing
again,
that. Start
continuing the
helping me.
traditions of men because
Right.
it's comfortable, because family traditions, because of government tradition, because of church
Peer pressure.
traditions, peer pressure, peers, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it does take, I'll tell you one thing, it does take, and even sometimes I shy away from speaking fully what I believe because it's difficult to stand up and go, I don't buy these traditions of men anymore. I don't buy this thing. You kind of got, it could be a lonely path, you know?
It is, but that's the beauty of it, dude, is because when you were alone and you're now in solitude, you're refined.
Man, you're not alone
This-
because you have
Right, because
it,
you're connected with him.
but still,
But the dude, yes, it does, because as a man of God, I'm broke. I don't have
yeah,
money to go
yeah.
on
The material
dates.
world is not a favorable place for someone who sees all the BS.
Yes. And it's hard, dude, because it's like I said, I have to dumb myself down in order to fit in, and I'm not smart enough to be stupid.
Yeah.
I want to have fun. I used to
And
be
it's
this
painful too
romantic.
when you have to go there. You're like,
Yeah,
oh, brother,
dude, I used to have fun and it was very romantic. And again, I still can be, but you got to let me lead. And
decompress. And
I'm
yeah,
not saying lead as in being a dictator. I'm saying lead as in know that what I'm talking about when I do go into
yeah,
conspiracy mode, that it's not a better than thou mentality. It's not trying to freak you out. It's not that I expect you to get exactly where I'm at. It's more of a I'm doing this because it's a warrior aspect.
yes.
Calling out the
Protection,
prophets of Baal. You may
guidance.
not
Yeah.
understand how I do that, but I need you to just back me up and support me
Yeah.
regardless. Right? You may not see the battlefield, but I have. Can you at
Yeah.
least give me a hug when I come home? Because that's all I really need from you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying
Yep.
to demean. I'm saying if you can't understand me, but you still want to try to love me, that's all I need. And
Yeah.
maybe eventually we'll come to, love each other, quote unquote. If you're
Hmm.
going by traditional, I don't know if I'll really love him. You'll eventually get there. But
Yeah.
that's where you come to meet somebody halfway, is your fellow human, not your
Yes.
government
Good point.
god
Good point.
merging. No, that's individualism is where you basically are becoming single, spiritually speaking, and you're saying,
Mhm.
God, I give up. I'm
Yep.
giving up my personal sovereignty, surrender, sinner, right? I'm acknowledging I can't do this on my own. You are the only king, or no king but Christ. I am
Hmm.
acknowledging I can't do it. It's all on you. Here I am, Lord, send me. I feel
Yeah.
unworthy, but I'll do it. And when you say that, dude, it's so lonely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody gets you and me because it's it sucks, dude.
Yeah, even
It,
even close friends, they don't. I mean, they may, yeah, it goes in layers. Like, close friends may get you in most ways, but like they will even still attack. Go, what are you doing? Like, I'm doing my calling. I don't, I didn't choose this.
it chose me,
It
or he
chose
chose
me.
me. Dude,
you know?
that's sometimes where it goes into where I think about Job. And I also think about Timothy, but Job in the aspect that your friends come over and they start putting you down, saying you can't do it, blah blah blah. Like my brother, the buddy at Stancia that I wanted to do a debate with, and I offered to have you host with that. See,
Mhm.
guys, we're willing to talk to people. The thing is that most of them can bail out and don't want to do it because they can't
Yeah.
stand by what they say.
Yeah.
Um, and then the other one was let no man despise thy youth, Timothy. And they wrote this in there, and it's like, yeah, because some people, you're too young. Who are you to be telling us what to do?
Hmm.
I'm just somebody who's passionate about the word, and my mentor is like saying to say this, and I'm feeling you guys are demeaning me, but it's not about my age. It's about what I'm saying. You follow, because
Yeah.
detracting from the message because you're starting to see me through man's lens of who's worthy to say something and who's not worthy to say something. Just like with some
Yeah.
of my inscriptions, I didn't tag you specifically, but you're angry at
Yeah.
me.
Triggered. Hmm.
Right, because you're reading yourself when you're
Yep.
reading my words. And
And you don't
again,
like it. Yeah.
Scripture was inspired by holy men of God that were inspired by the Holy Spirit. Now, am I saying my stuff has to be put in the Bible? No, I'm not saying that for a second. What I'm saying is, if I'm truly inspired by the Holy Spirit, it's going to
Yes.
trigger you or convict you, right? That's what
Yeah.
it should be doing, as opposed to, that was a nice sermon today, Pastor. Until I see you next week. And you
So
just go
true.
back and you don't change. There's no change. There's no conviction. It is
Nope.
literally just saying the congregation of the dead. You're just sleeping there. The quick
Yep.
and the dead. I think that's in Revelation, or is it Hebrews? Somewhere around there. But that's a phrase. The movie that we saw, there is a phrase in the Bible called the quick and the
Is
dead.
that so? Mhm.
Yes. Now, there's a lot of people, they like being of the dead. They like being asleep.
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
don't
when
have
you're
to
bringing back
think.
Lazarus from the dead, dude, think about that for a moment. Not only is he going to have to experience death again, but just as Christ was weeping when he brought him back,
Mm.
I'm bringing him back to a crap world when he was just an eternity.
Yes.
But in man's perspective, please bring him back. He means so much to us. We love his. He was
Yes.
already in the threshold. He got it.
Yes.
Now I have to bring him back. And I know there was a comedian, he made a joke. I think it was Mark Lowry. And they said, imagine you're at the marriage feast and all of a sudden you get the Lazarus come forth. Lazarus come forth. I was just about to have the steak. Like, you get tugged out of the room.
Yes.
Imagine that, dude. And for a split second, you're now seeing, because you've been on the other side,
Hmm.
you know who Christ is. I would imagine. I would imagine there's something a little bit more because you've now been to the other side, and maybe there's a little bit of a, I knew you already were special, but now I've experienced death. I've been to paradise, and you know what some of the forerunners were saying about you? I don't know. I don't know for sure
Hmm.
because I've never experienced death myself. But to be absent from the body, be present with the Lord. If he was with the old covenant, I would assume he was with Father Abraham, right? So if imagine you're going over there and they're like, you're with the promise, he's in. And then there's like, you're coming out from a tomb and you're seeing the
Yes.
Son of God standing there in the flesh, the word of God, the promise, the fulfillment made, and you're literally just going, you
Yeah.
he's
You'd be
like I'm
awestruck. Yeah.
not crying because yeah, you're gonna experience again, it could be. But imagine, dude, I'm bringing back somebody that now knows what it was like on the other side,
Hmm.
right? And I'm saving all of mankind from that. And you're one of the few people as an adult, because some of the other ones were kids that he healed, as an adult, as a friend,
Yeah.
who know the truth. They're all
Wow.
not going to understand it, but you do,
No.
don't you, Lazarus? Yeah, I do. Whoa, whoa. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, it's so profound. And again, he waited several days. He wanted to make sure you experienced the other side.
Hmm.
I'm just, again, I don't know. Again, it's
Yeah.
all speculation, but if we try to even entertain for a second the spiritual stories, breaking it down of what that must have been in a spiritual realm sense, as opposed to
Yeah.
just man reading it and going, okay, nice story.
Yeah.
There is
Yeah.
always a spiritual layer there to go, wow,
It's
I
big
wonder if
time.
that's what that looked like, you know?
Hmm. Yeah. It's wild.
It's wild. Dude, I think I think what I'm seeing is that there's a cult for the world and there's a remnant for
Yes.
heaven.
Yes. Yes. I see it very, I've been thinking about that these last couple of weeks and or months, and it is wild to me because I talk about it like building castles in the sand kind of a thing. Like I don't really
Yes.
see I don't really see the I don't see the allure of this place anymore. Like it's
Thank you.
so dark. And I'm like, "Ew, it's cringy.
What you just said though, building on sand, the
That's what
dusting
it
off
feels like to
the
me.
sand from your sandals.
It's like God's children are building castles in sand here, and I don't. Then I look back over my whole life, and only recently has it become clear to me there. But I never, for some reason, I never wanted to build castles here. I don't know. I just never had the desire. But then you look back and you're like, could this be a meaning something? I don't know. There's no randomness. But it's much more pronounced now, and
Clearer.
it's clearer. Yeah, it's clearer now. Like I kind of like that thing. I can see clearly now. The rain is.
I was
I'm
just
like,
thinking the same thing. Yeah, yeah.
right. It's
Because
so
the rain's
crazy.
gone. You don't see it. I wrote another song back in the day. I used to love the rain until I saw a rainbow, and it's an analogy. Uh, if the rainbow's supposed to represent the fallopian tubes and the birth of life that comes off of that, but it's the
Mhm.
whole analogy. I used to love the rain until I saw a rainbow. And at the end, there's a pot of gold, which is supposed to be the baby belly, and it just is. It was an analogy of I used to enjoy my bachelorhood, my, just being a kid, being innocent, doing my things in my life until I saw the beauty of life taking form.
Mm.
It's kind of what the whole analogy is just talking and the beauty of the life process, right? And then again, it talks about, and then I know when he asked me the question, is that it'll happen again. And the whole cycle, the process of falling in love.
Mhm.
That is the only beauty left down here, dude.
Yeah, good
And
point.
if you can find it, yeah, it's a rare
Yes.
and I do appreciate it. I do value it. Everybody's saying, you don't like women. No, I just don't like feminism. And sadly, that's in a lot of people today because
Yeah.
nobody's bothered to train or implement what that actually looks like. If you want a man to actually lead, stop calling him a narcissist, this, that, and the
Mhm.
other thing. Stop viewing him solely from a woman's lens and say, maybe, again, not in all cases, just saying that for the record, but sometimes I have to lead and it's
Yeah.
going to require me being tough and it's going to suck. And I'm sorry it's not me, but I'm trying to apply and make the Bible alive in our life because we have a culture,
Mhm.
and I am trying to promote a kingdom of heaven. So if I have to get rid of Christmas trees, I'm sorry, honey. And if you want to keep doing that, fine, but I'm not bringing it in the house because then I am
Yeah.
contributing labor towards this, right? Even Paul was
Yeah.
saying, can we have the meat that was sacrificed to idols? Yes, because you weren't part of the ceremony, were you?
Mm.
No, it's the aftermath that they're throwing it back onto the market because the process is done of what it was used for. But we're going to, again, be thrifty. Are we going to just say we can't eat meat now?
Mhm.
Again, it's the
Yeah.
premise of if I contributed to this. Again, if you're weaning off from the Christmas tree, if you haven't watched my episode, folks, and you're wondering why I'm going to this route, if wean off from it like a cigarette, like you have to do the
Mhm.
patches for a little bit. One day we'll get the Christmas tree, we'll decorate it. Then just the tree. Then the plastic
Yes.
wrap, and
Slowly.
then
Yeah.
we're done. Why? Because I get it. It's so
Mhm.
routine. You do it every year.
Yeah. You
At
go
a certain
cold
point,
turkey or
somebody's
we
going to be
know.
like, how come you didn't decorate it? Because I'm reminding myself that that's something that God doesn't like. And because it's now not decorated, it's reminding me, start looking at myself like that, right? I can doll myself up all I want, put all the makeup on I want, try to make myself look better. At the end of the day, that's what I look like. It's just a tree.
Yeah.
And it's plastic. What does the plastic remind you of? That's how fake it is. That's how
Yeah.
unsuperficial it is. And then the next year, we're just back to normal. And they give you the day off, use it to actually read the Bible. And I'm not just saying, oh,
Sure.
Christmas story, because I think Christ was born in September, but use it to literally just have a potluck, a fellowship.
Yeah.
Because they're already doing it. Just literally say we don't it's like you guys don't even have a Christmas tree. You don't even have decorations up. How is it this not a Christmas thing? We're just using this
I'm not
time
of
off
this
that the
world kind of a
government
thing. Yeah.
right.
I
The
don't follow
government
the
gave us the
traditions of
time
man,
off,
like
so
you
we're
said.
using it to have a genuine thing
Yes.
potluck, 14 days of Christmas. I mean, not Christmas, but like a potluck of believers getting
Yeah.
together
Good
just
point.
because you know what? It's what the world gave us. We'll take it, but we're going to apply it right to our Savior. And you're not even
Mhm.
doing anything for the thing of the world. But again, there's a turkey for sale, might as well eat it, you know? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's me. I'm not going to throw that on everybody, but this is just my 2 cents. If you
Mhm.
want to disagree, that's fine as well. But I'm not endorsing the holiday in any way, shape, or form. But again, it's the decorations. It's going through the routine. It's
Yeah.
forcing yourself to get a present. And for me, dude, I've always liked Thanksgiving more so because the
Mhm.
only thing I found pagan thus far, I tried looking into this because everyone was asking me. Only thing I could find was that the cornucopia, the horn of
Mhm.
plenty, connecting with Zeus. Aside from that,
Mm.
I wasn't I wasn't really fighting too
Yeah,
many.
it's more of a simple ceremony. It's more food. We need to eat food as human
But
beings
it's for me, it literally was
coming
just a ceremony
together.
of being thankful,
Good point.
literally
There's no symbology other
thankful.
than that, huh? Yeah,
Again, I could be wrong. If I am, please feel free to send me a link and or video. I apologize if you're offended.
right.
And
But
I
you're
only say
based
that
on
because
your
I
knowledge.
genuinely would like to implement that if that is true. But it's the sentiments aspect, again, any feelings. I'm willing to throw that out too. If you're able to
Yeah.
provide me with evidence and or book or resource, please do so. I love talking about this stuff if you watch my other shows. But for me, it's still the concept and premise of literally saying, I don't need a present to say I love
Mm-mm.
you.
Mm-mm.
I'm
Let's
literally happy giving
eat
you a
together.
hug,
Yeah.
sharing a meal, watching a movie,
Hmm.
snuggling with each other on the couch if it's your loved one or something like that. Like, dude,
Yeah.
sometimes it gets a little bit hard when you're sitting in there like, well, you're lucky. Okay, I guess I'll just watch the movie by myself. I don't really have
Yeah. Well,
something.
well,
It's that community of just saying I'm happy. I don't need anything
no.
more. I'm happy just with the family. And thank you,
Yeah.
God. Again, it's not by me. It's just saying thank you, God, literally for providing this moment and the food. Because a lot of cultures like India and whatnot, it's
Yeah.
food is life. It is sharing. It's like kissing.
Yes. Common. It's common
The
for the human
symbolism of that
experience.
is you're exchanging each other's airwaves,
Hmm.
right? The breath of life when you're kissing, that's an exchange. And I love that you're alive, right?
Yeah.
This is the similar premise that I'm seeing was when you're consuming food, you're breaking bread, you're sharing a moment of intimacy as
Hmm.
opposed to just turning off the freaking gears. This is why I don't like the aspect, dude, of no, we don't talk religion or politics on the holidays.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Because isn't that, I hate to say it, that's partly what makes up the world out there. But if you breach into that, but like, or as a Christian, you don't even need to talk because it's not religion, it's a faith.
Yeah.
And if it's politics, you're talking about how stupid it is in comparison to the
Yeah.
gospel, which is so much better than what the things of this world is promoting.
Yeah.
You
Well,
make
and to circle back to what you're saying earlier, and you alluded to at the end here is, you know, because of the many different psyops and the poisoning of the well, so to speak, in ideology from an ideology standpoint, it does appear to seems more challenging to find someone to connect with members of the opposite sex that you can come together that again layers upon layers of psyop and multiple different type of poison in the well. A person could be afflicted in a certain way. We're all afflicted in some ways, like whereas we
right.
detox, so to speak, of these ideologies and these poison thoughts. It's like, oh my gosh, finding, and both men and women are waking up to it. Women are like, what's wrong with men? Men are like, what's wrong with women? It's so wild to watch. But the good news is both of the sexes are starting to go, okay, we got to we got to work this out because this clearly isn't working for us. It's not,
Our next episode has to be on relationships.
it does have, I would love it, Brandon. I would love it.
Yes, because I have thoughts. Because I do look at the culture, but I also sometimes see these things where they're blaming the guy, and I'm not
Yes.
going to go into full detail, but they blame the guy for porn. They blame
Yes.
other stuff.
Toxic masculinity,
Yes, and
uh,
it's like,
male
okay, what
chauvinism.
what made them go to become keyboard warriors that you're always complaining about, as opposed to, you know what I'm saying? Because we always blame that as the
It
result.
takes
But
two to tango. That's what I
right,
always
the
say
minute we
is
point a finger at the women of how this contributed, because we're always saying how you should treat your princess, but how do you treat
yes.
a man?
Yes.
And
Well,
again, I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, but all I'm saying
no.
is I see a lot of people readily pointing a finger at the guy. Again,
Yes.
even the Christian people, but we don't ever scrutinize the other side of, again, why is somebody gravitating towards that? What are the incremental influences driving people to get to
That would
that
be
point?
awesome because that would be a super because I think we both study that a lot. I love studying this and watching where they're at because it's like your fingers on the pulse of the culture because clearly if you don't have men and women coming together and coupling, you don't have a society in
Right.
the future. Or if you have them coupling, if you have two dysfunctional people coming together, you may produce an offspring, but that offspring will be dysfunctional. Two wrongs do not make it right. I mean, it is
But
it is so crazy. I
the
love this
strength of a
topic.
nation derives from the integrity of the home. I think it was
Yes.
Confucius that said that.
Yeah.
And for me, again, that's not necessarily the nation, but as top of that, when you're getting to something like Hannah Arendt, and she's saying when basically a nation doesn't have empathy, is on the verge of
Yes.
collapsing.
Yes.
And for me, empathy, values, a golden rule, call it whatever you will. We're not implementing all that. We've nuked the nuclear family.
We have.
Fulfilling what Marx wanted, he got it. Okay, cool. I mean, not cool, but I mean that's their
Yeah.
end game objective was achieved. And as you just said, we're now getting to a point where people are waking up. But the downside is they're waking up saying there's a problem, but we're not pitching the solution.
No, because they don't
Personally,
know
I
that
think we
we've
got
come
like
so
what,
far.
2 years, maybe,
Yeah. Yeah.
until things probably hit the fan. And that's
Yeah.
where I'm over here like, guys,
I
at this
agree with
point,
you.
we really don't have time. If you're
I
gonna
agree
get
with
a
you.
relationship, kind of be like 2, 3 months.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Why?
The
Because
ball's been in play for a long time. And this, let's just, like you said,
it's time to end lollygagging. We're gonna
yes.
date for 1 or 2 years, and then we're gonna see. Again, I'm not saying that's wrong, but I'm saying if we are towards the end, and I'm not saying to rush things to the point of
Right.
lunacy,
Still
but I'm
heal
saying
and still
when you're
fix. But
watching these old shows, and I know it sounds stupid, but hear me out. There comes a certain point when you're watching like a Bonanza episode, somebody falls in love with the woman, yada yada, and it's like 2 or 3 weeks later, and then you're proposing marriage already, and everybody's all like, ah, and then like, oh, you broke his heart, blah blah blah, and the girl left or
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But for
Yeah.
me, it's like there's a certain point where, yeah, back in the day, that wasn't as weird as you'll say now because it was kind of a, hey, kind of crap out there. I know you're a single gal. I'm willing to provide you something. I'm willing to give
Hmm.
you resources. You can connect with the family. You now have social equity,
Yes.
you mentioned before.
Yeah. It was a different time, different era.
Right. And now it's kind of like, well, no, I'm independent. Cool. But I don't really like a
I
dog
know.
mom as to be
The
the
proud dog mom. Yeah.
yeah, it's like that's not really what I'm looking for. And I don't like
Yeah.
also the click church girls and stuff like that. Like there has to be a certain point where um men start being men again and we start vetting and assuring and I'm not saying to make some kind of cult thing where like hooga chaka,
Right.
some ceremony to prove you're a man. No, I'm just saying we literally have an iron sharpens iron moment and making sure your
Mhm.
walk is good with the Lord, that you're exhorting a brethren, right? That we're building this up because we really care about the next generation, because everybody in the tribe has a voice. Everybody's a warrior. Every woman is mother. And I'm not saying like, oh, everybody's Negan. No, I'm saying we respect the aspect of our gender roles, and we don't need
Yes.
government to tell us how to do that, or a
Yeah.
culture to tell us how to think about it. We start being so contrary to the world that they're literally going, that's not normal. No,
Yeah.
what's normal is doing what was biblical, and what is going
Yes.
so countercultural that it seems abnormal to you. And
Yeah.
you're welcome to join us if you wish. Otherwise, you can leave too, just like the Amish.
I
Like
was
I
just
just
gonna
went
say
back
the
100
Amish. I
years.
would think because the thing of it is, see, people have to have a model or a mentor in order to be able to do that. In a modern
Right,
era, and if you're living in a city, a liberal city, to make it even worse, you are told you got no one. And
right,
well, that's why so many liberals are like, peace out. I'm going back toward the conservative and or looking at the Amish. I don't think
right.
there's anyone liberal, conservative that aren't looking at the Amish and going, man, they really have it. They figured it out over there because you see the craziness of the world. I think about the Amish all the time. I would give it up in a heartbeat to live like the Amish now because I'm certainly not
We're
going to
off grid.
embrace AI
Right.
and I'm certainly not going to embrace all this tech, digital business. Everyone wants to live like the Amish are the bomb right now.
Well, I mean, in comparison, or I'm sure there's other groups around the world that
Yes, but
are very
they're good.
similar. And again, a lot of the off-grid people, they're getting the
Yes,
concept is that we're going to form our own community. We're going to,
live
for
off the
me, if I
land.
did that, again, not so much. I prefer to just be the teacher,
Yeah, yeah.
because
Be
that's
a
my
person of
gift.
value in the community
Right.
based using your
Uh,
gift and talent. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, you're not going to go build
And
barns
I
in.
don't need a certificate. It's like,
No.
trust me, I got more than enough books
Well, and
to
that
know what I'm talking about and to
and
explain it.
and that is another good topic, Brandon, too, is how can you use your gifts and talents to be of service in the world
Or
and
in the
as
community. Yeah.
I mean your community, yeah, community, pulling away from whatever you got, seduced into, I mean, whatever
Reforge
job you
it into
got.
something else. Yeah.
Yeah. What are your gifts and talents that God gave you? Um, Yeah, I mean, because that's where the goods are going to come from. Like people who have been doing things, because there's people that love to build and they've been building. They love to, be raising animals, and some people, I don't enjoy that raising animals. I like
Right.
doing more of what you do. I will do the research. I will
Or the intellectual
the
conversations
intellectual,
around the campfire,
philosophical, yeah,
the entertainment.
knowledge worker type person,
Yes.
entertainment, those
Yes.
are the things. Not everyone wants to do that. Like we've talked about before, we'll go and forage for these ideas and insights and knowledge and serve them up in a quick, easy way, save you all the time. Like that's the value. Boom, here you go. Or watch 50 documentaries and say, okay, if you're on a tight timeline, watch this one and
Right.
this
We
one,
can
and
vet it
you're
out for
good.
you.
Yeah.
Well,
Or here's the synopsis.
we're kind
I
of like
love it.
the scribes, librarians slash teachers.
Yes. Yes.
And
What are
that's
you
kind
looking? What are you struggling with? Let
right.
me
It's
point
like,
you.
okay, so you need, again, so
Love
if you're
it.
going to the apothecary,
Yes.
we're doing that with
Yes.
literature.
Yes.
And we
That's
understand how the
it.
world is run. And again, this was ancient Greek and Rome.
Yes.
But it was with philosophers of this is how you think about the world. And he's the most prominent, and I have him tutor my son, and you know,
Yes.
Alexander the Great with Aristotle and all this stuff. And again, you don't have to agree with them. It's just
No.
the prominent, again, I'm not saying that's what you do it for, but it's the aspect of I dedicated literally my whole life
Yeah.
study of
You're a specialist
intellect,
in, yeah.
reason, trying to process the things of this world. I've traveled very far to accumulate the knowledge that I have. Now, did all
Yes.
teachers come along through all that? Absolutely, 100%.
Yes.
But again, that's why there's a need for having diversity of okay, like you said, you're not so extreme. Somebody like myself, I'm like your senior thesis.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and
Different
again,
teachers and different for different people.
right, and my stuff, like again, if I was teaching, I want to make sure when you come to my stuff, I want you to outdo the master.
Hmm. The true teacher always does.
And that's that again when I want to learn from
Yes.
whoever I'm teaching. Like again, I bombed
No
over here, got
ego.
fired by the Turks, but I learned something on that as well.
Hmm.
I learned, the L meaning hand, and I also learned is like, okay, I guess some of them were not understanding what I was saying, but there's a different way I guess I could teach.
Hmm.
Can I fix that? No, but again, I now understand there's certain areas. Okay, and not my strong suit. Okay, this
Yeah.
is more my area of strong
And
suit.
don't try to be a master of all, a jack of all
Right,
trades, master of none.
and
Yeah.
this is again when I was even doing katana. I keep telling this to my buddy. If again, Dana, if you're listening, um, there was a scene that Sensei filmed where these two guys were squaring off, and you're supposed to like hold the base of the hilt of the sword. You put the tips
Hmm.
together, and you go, hey, yeah, and then you go into combat. And one of the guys I recognized, he was a tall guy, and we were very good at sparring with each other. We were able to match our speed. He was very good. But this other
Hmm.
guy, I didn't recognize him. And the minute the match started, he threw his sword to the corner of the room,
Hmm.
and everybody's like, "Oh!" Now, if I was Sensei, I would have been embarrassed to post that clip. If anything, what I would have said is, "Fight's not over. Continue." I
Hmm.
just threw away my sword. Yeah, but you are now acknowledging because the purpose is not this. It's not that you're going to win the fight or you
Hmm.
think the other person's better than you. You're supposed to hold that bridge and hold that line as a man,
Hmm.
as a warrior,
Hmm.
as whatever until you're gone. If you lose your
Hmm.
weapon, grab your dagger. You lose your tackle them. Think of
Yeah.
something. But to throw away your sword and everybody sits around and laughs,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's not again.
It's a
There
mockery of the situation.
Thank you.
Really.
You're overthinking it. No, it's just like again, you and I were sparring with Aikido. Again, I
Hmm.
just made like what yellow belts first one. That's it. I don't
Are
know.
you currently practicing? Are you currently practicing
I
Aikido
wasn't able to
or
afford continuing.
okay,
Otherwise,
but you started, yeah.
but what I was learning of it is I loved
Mhm.
how the next student up, or a couple, one or two belts up, was teaching the guy that's just coming in
Yes.
because I
Yes.
love the process of you're still not better than me, but you're also
Mhm.
saying, "Oh, okay, that's cool. I didn't see this way, blah blah blah," or try to do it more like this. I love that community of brotherhood that
Yeah.
you're not mocking of what is there. Granted, is it the superior one? No, it's not about that. It's the process of I have tools in my utility to help
Mhm.
defend somebody. That's the whole premise of this. It's not about this one's better than that one's better than that one. And the premise, if you think you're not the best swordsman, I don't care. The
Yeah.
premise is you have the weapon. You are now in charge. You're not supposed to laugh about your duty.
Mm-mm.
I don't care if you're scared of the other guy's skill, height, or you're just gonna, you don't feel like you're up to the task. That's the premise is that you're going to release
Yeah, you're
develop
learning the art of it, the
right
respect of it, all of it. I mean, it's so
in
deep, it's
literature,
layers.
right? The
Yeah.
literature, the application of what something you and I are teaching. This is the
Hmm.
same premise that I have. Is even if you feel like you're going to fail at a debate or an intellectual, it's the aspect that you
You
are brave
enter
enough
into
to
the,
stand up to
yeah,
do it.
yeah.
Yes.
Because
I
there's the growth there, there's
Yes, it's the growth and it's the aspect of well done. You're now a fellow black belt. You're able to
yes.
stand up to a giant or a dragon or call it whatever you will. You
Hmm.
were not afraid to run away. You didn't back down. And I'm saying as a kingdom and heaven aspect,
Hmm.
I applaud you. Please, I want more Christians to be like that. I want everybody. And again, I'm not even saying I'm a black belt. I'm still learning from
Right,
who.
we're all on a path. Yeah, student
But
slash teacher. Yeah.
there's a certain point where the Ronin aspect of myself, I don't read Jordan Maxwell or where that guy that did all this stuff. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm like,
Oh,
I
Jordan Peterson or is
no,
that
the Maxwell guy that was teaching all this stuff in the occult back in the day.
oh, you don't read him? Yeah,
I
yeah,
think it
yeah.
was Maxwell.
Yeah, it was Jordan
It was
Maxwell.
it was okay. Yeah,
Well,
so
there's the guy, I don't know, unless you're referring to the guy that wrote, you're not referring to who wrote the Behold the Pale Horse. That was a different guy. That was, yeah, Jordan
uh,
Maxwell. I know him. He's glasses.
yeah, I
Um,
think there's two of those guys,
there's
but yeah,
two guys. I get them
that was
mixed up
another one.
sometimes. Yeah.
But again, I haven't read that book either. And everybody's like,
Yeah, I
"Eh, no."
know. Okay, so you don't study either any of those. Yeah.
Well, again, so it's even when somebody's talking about somebody in pop culture or
Yeah.
these other prominent podcaster, I'm like, who?
It's not your
You don't
genre. That's
know?
like, yeah.
It's like, yeah,
You're like,
I
no, I
I
don't.
don't I don't follow the again, my original call tag for Call of Duty was Archer MD.
Hmm.
Archer, because I always loved the form of archery. MD Maverick Disciple.
Hmm.
I follow the code, but I'm a maverick in my own form of how I
Yeah.
perform that,
Yeah.
hence a Ronin-esque. Do
Hmm.
I believe in everything that they taught? From what I've seen of cute clips here and there, yes. Did I
Hmm.
did I study under them to come to the same conclusion? No.
Yeah.
Same thing with podcasters. Do I have to listen to Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk and all these other people to understand how I view the world?
Right.
No. Can I hear what they say? Yes. And other times
Sure.
because I listen to both sides, like Michael Parenti, everybody's like, "Oh my God, communists." No, I'm listening to the argument, not the solution.
Yes. You're pulling value from more. Yeah, you can get
Thank
it
you.
from a lot of
And
places.
moral reasoning. And this is what
Yeah.
Galen's father was saying, or even Galen himself, what I was that the physician guy. He was studying under several philosophers, but he was himself, and again, he didn't say the exact word, but he was not an absolutionist, as just this one has it right. And he was often saying, I think a lot of them all have it wrong because they're so dogmatic, they're not willing to
Mm.
hear a differing opinion.
Yeah.
That's the same way that I am as a Christian is I'm willing to hear Nietzsche
Yeah.
or Marx or something. These people that are complete nihilistics and deniers of God. Why? Because sometimes that cynicism you hear, you're like, I get it. That is a churchian. That's a new ager. And I understand your gripes. And if that's what forged you to go towards the occult or paganism as a solution, nihilism, whatever, I pity
Hmm.
that. But I also sympathize because I'm human. I was at a phase one time and I can entertain and I can walk somebody through the process that's following you, and I can show you where it led him. He ended up becoming a madman, Nietzsche or whatever it was.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I think that's where we've lost it, but that's what. Wow, we went on a tangent. That's what I would
But
like
it
to
was a good tangent.
describe. Yeah.
It was necessary to
Well, it
we
is kind
weaved
of
a
what
lot
we're
in.
doing right now. But ideally, I think you and I is like if we could cut off the internet and actually forge our own little village, that would be
Well,
ideal.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, and start a community. Yeah, I mean, I'm ready. Well, and I've got a video queued up because one of the things that I do on my YouTube channel is I watch videos where people are talking about um, kind of alternative options for life. Because let's be real, the system that we were sold, okay, go to, work for however many years, retirement, blah blah blah. It never it's breaking down. Like lots of things are breaking down. The world's changing so fast. What I'm interested right now is how can people still live on this planet for whatever time we have left, and have their needs met and serve and be served and can come together as community. There has to be a way to do this because as we know, I mean, men and women, they're not coupling to the way they used to be. And even if they were coupling the last handful of decades, it hasn't been great. You know, there's so much dysfunction and so much trauma and so much just
Mm,
weirdness. You know, so I'm looking to people that are going, okay, how can we come together like an Amish community or like an alternative living community where we can help the elderly, teach the young, help each other when we need it. You know, it's because that's where it's going to have to emerge here. Because one, financially, you know, you're not going to have single households moving forward into the few years. I mean, it's just too expensive.
dude, I almost
Uh,
wonder if that's what we're being prepped for the new kingdom, is because we're getting to the point where we're
maybe
like, there, we're not. I told it to
we're
my
not.
buddy today, and he looked at me like, "What?" And I said, "Dude, I'm never gonna own a home in this lifetime.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
I've
It's
accepted
out.
my fate."
Yeah. Yeah, it's outlandish, but there's it's just so fascinating to me because we still need each other. See
Yeah.
rulers of this world, they want everyone siloed off in their little home or their little box in their little matrix bubble, not communicating, whatever.
Mm.
I think we're made to connect, we're made to communicate. And that's what gets really exciting to me is building new communities that are based on traditional values. You know, that's where it's going to be. That's where the action is, you know.
Traditional values and actually living the gospel or the
Yes.
word, and I think that's the
Yes.
problem, is that it's not even traditional values, because, and again, I'm saying that with
Right. I
slight
guess that's a loaded term.
because,
What are
well,
traditional
because,
values? Yeah.
yeah, because everybody jumps to the, oh,
Fair.
conservative, and that way it is
Yeah.
as how
Good
we're
point.
literally so set apart because we're going back to the roots of what was to be followers of God
Yes.
without becoming pagan like the cultures around us. And I think a lot of us who understand the updated user terms of agreement with the New Testament, what was grieving God's heart is they kept disobeying his word and kept merging with things of this world, the other surrounding
Mhm.
cultures. He said, be not like the other nations who do all this other stuff. We're not supposed to be like that. We can entertain philosophy, but don't make it your life premise. You know what I'm saying? Don't, you
Yeah.
can entertain this. Like what I always tell people is like, you can be a philosopher. Downside is if you're denying God as the end solution or as the ground basis, you're denying
Good
the chief
point.
cornerstone, and you're building your whole philosophy on sand. So you can take that out with the garbage. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Um, again,
Yeah.
that's the was it Occam's razor right there. There's that if you eject God out of the picture of the solution, you've already lost the battle.
Yeah.
God is the standard chief cornerstone. His word, Christ, is the way we're supposed to live it. Now, does that mean we have to all live in, singleness? No, because he also made, Adam and Eve, but he also, with Eve, saying it's not good for man to be alone. There's
Hmm.
this aspect of companionship and support, right? Of helping a man continue his dominion, individualism, correctly, so he knows how to raise a family and create and contribute to a community that submits
Hmm.
solely to God. That's what
Yeah.
we really need to start getting back down to. And I think you're
Yeah.
right. That would be a good episode to break down. Because again, we could both go into our own little stories,
Hmm.
more
Of what we're
specifically of
seeing. Yeah.
or our personal gifts and how we kind of cultivated it to a ministry as opposed to what we were going down and could have had evolve. Um,
Yeah.
because it truly was a sacrifice, dude. I think both yourself and myself is that for me, I would love to, fix Hollywood because we have crap movies and give you original
Yes.
series that are going to make you think. And given my bloodlines, I probably could do that.
So I
But
feel
to
the
lose
same way. I
my
think
own
that's why we
soul,
get along so well is because we have that similar mindset
yeah. And
and talent.
it's not it grieves my heart in a sense, dude, because sometimes I'm watching this stuff and I'm like, I can see the fake ones during some
Yes.
interviews. And I also
Yes.
can tell this one's actually pretty genuine. And I don't think, and again, I suspect that because you can kind of gauge real when you know what trauma is like and you know why you're
Mm.
doing the things you're doing. So when I'm reading this stuff and I know what's real and I know my true intentions of why I'm doing something, and I read a comment like that, it's not that I'm taking it personally. It's more in the sense of I do what I do in an aspect of I do it because I love you and you really don't understand the sacrifices I did, and I've never even met you, right? Just with Christ. There's some people he's never met, right? But he did it out of love despite never
Yes.
meeting you, right?
Yeah.
Even when you were in the womb, I was thinking of you. It's like, whoa, okay. Same thing. It's digital. I hate digital. I want to give hugs.
Yes.
But you don't know me.
Hmm.
But I'm doing what I do in the gift and the field that God has given me, personality wise, talent wise, to kind of give you something back, and you just slap me in the face when I'm trying to wash your feet
Yeah.
with a comment like we read before. What does that say about you? And if that's what your theory is making you like, then
Hmm.
you have some dark stuff in you and you need to fix that. I'm going to go wash somebody else's feet. Have a good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. Though that's so true. Yeah, it's exciting to think about the opportunities that exist to heal, to connect, to come together, to pull out of the fire. And I often sometimes think about this thing. We touched on this earlier. I look at a lot of what I do as kind of a recruiter, kind of like, hey, I'm recruiting for this team. Do you want to like get out of this mess? Because your team doesn't like you. Your
Right.
team exploits you and uses you, and you're a useful tool.
Dude, you're recruiting for the rebellion. You're
Yeah,
telling me
recruiting
the
for the
Empire is
rebellion,
no
like,
good for you. You need to join Andor and company.
yeah, like I mean, like I want to drop leaflets on the whole world being like, hey, these people hate you. They hate your kids. They undermine you at all costs. They exploit you. Get over to this team. Come
Right.
over to this team.
We may not be perfect, but at least we're actually going to defy the Empire. And dude,
Yeah, we're real. They're
everybody loves the
fake.
rebel in the movie.
Yeah,
We love the rebel. We hate the
love it.
Empire, but you love the bucket heads every time you go into a voter booth.
Yep.
And you say patriotism, nationalism, or we're defending a war against terror. You're still a bucket head.
Yeah.
Because the resistance is people that are daring to have the conversation, start the communities, and actually sacrifice
Yes.
things for the kingdom of
Yes.
heaven. And because you don't understand what that's like, you have no idea what spiritual warfare is. And if you don't know
Nope.
what spiritual warfare is, and you're not being mocked, persecuted, and or put down on every corner and turn, then you probably have no idea what it is to be a Christian. If you have no idea what it is to be a Christian, I would truly wonder
Well,
if you're truly saved.
yeah, well, but most people in this world, they're like, yeah, this is working out just fine for me. Of course it is. You're totally lost. This world is totally inverted. You know, you're watching bread and you're watching the circuses, you're eating the bread, you're drinking the thing, you know, whatever, you know, of course this world, but really ultimately on some level, probably closer to the surface, you're sick, you're unhappy, you're not fulfilled, you know, that people know. And that's why they're turning back to the truth, the light. You know what I mean? They're like, it's not working for us,
Yeah, well,
you
it's
know?
kind of like it's a good analogy here. It's kind of like you're drowning in a sense, and
Yeah.
you're over here going, okay, how about that lifesaver now, or that that little raft that you
Yes.
offer me? And we're over here
Yes.
like,
Do you still have
okay,
it?
you're ready now. You understand that it's a little bit deeper than you thought you could
So
go. It's like,
true.
yes, so help reel me in or help guide me how to get back to the shoreline or how to keep
Yes.
swimming properly. And again, this is what the whole purpose of boot camp is. You got to get kicked around, right? Again, here's the thing, dude. Spiritual warfare. You don't like me, right? Because it's boot camp.
Yeah.
That's who I am. I'm not pleasant. I'll admit it.
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
it. I'm
You're a
it's
tough drill sergeant. Yeah.
right. But the boot camp is to kick you into what? Shape. And what do you
Yes.
talk about for the rest of
Because
your
you
life?
need to be in it.
I
Yeah.
needed
How
to
much
build me
yeah,
up.
what you needed. Oh,
It
true,
helped me
brother.
endure. I went through saying, are you
Yes.
gonna appreciate me right now? No, you're gonna hate my guts. And guess
Yeah.
what? That's fine. But guess what? At the same time, you're my boys. You're my kids. I love
But
you.
when you're in battle and you are facing the enemy, you will
Yes.
appreciate this.
You're not
So
going to appreciate
true.
it until you're under fire.
Yes. And
You're
the
not going to appreciate
training
it until the
kicks
wolf
in.
is almost at your throat, and I'm over here like, nope, they're
Yes.
not touching this one because he's one of mine. Right? I'm a
Yes.
sergeant, but guess what? I know a couple more skill moves than this kid,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
not going to let
And
you hurt him because he's under my watch and care. And it's because the
right.
master tells me, and again, the master, as in Christ, God has told
Yes.
me to,
And you told them if you know, to stay out of these situations, don't go here and don't go there and walk like this and be careful of this. And then
barking.
if you
That's the
see
watchman on the
this,
wall, dude. Bark,
yes.
bark, bark, bark. What? Oh, I didn't see that because I was grazing. Yeah, you see the flock, the pack of
Yeah,
wolves
you
that are on the
almost
hill.
lost your head.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like,
so
okay, okay, get over
true.
there. The master's gonna take care of you. I'll stand in between. Am I going to stand? It doesn't mean I win.
No.
It means, guess what? I'm willing to die on this hill because I love you guys that much. You
Yes.
don't know why I do it. I do it for him. I don't need to hear, well done, thou good and faithful servant. All I need to hear when I get up there, good boy. And
Yep.
I'll probably break down bawling like a baby because guess what? That's
Yeah,
why I
emotional.
do what I'm doing
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I
yeah.
love helping the ecclesia get towards the right and walking on the narrow. It
Yeah,
sucks for me because, like you said, it's isolating.
you can
Nobody wants
be.
to talk to us.
No. You're hated by different people for different reasons, and it's like, oh, okay.
We get so
And you're
stupid all the time.
misunderstood.
Yeah. That's like every stone they throw at us, we stand on them, and then we get higher and higher up, and then they get mad
Yes.
because we're standing too tall over the crowd.
Yeah. Oh, so
And it's at
true.
a certain point, it's like
It's like
I
you
didn't
throw the
ask for
stones
you,
at me. I'm just
right,
using them in a creative way.
right, and I'm using it as a platform.
Yeah.
And now that platform, you're jealous or you're angry at me for actually speaking up and not being mad at you. It's more of I'm sad about you. I'm gonna call you out by name, and you're gonna probably get mad and
Throw more
yell at
stones.
me. And,
Or
right, yeah,
whatever.
keep throwing more stones and try to discredit me and do a bash video. And I'm over here like,
Uh-huh.
go ahead. At this point, you're wasting your breath
Yeah.
arguing about semantics of silly things. I had to read just one comment, and I know who you are.
Yep.
Whereas with me, if you watch my videos, you understand the ministry. If you understand the
Hey,
ministry,
you
you'll
will know them by the fruits. Yeah.
right. You'll understand why I do the things I do. And a lot of people, when I was talking with Cliff from Truth to Face, shout out to Cliff. Please support him if you can. He really could use it. He was even saying, he says, "Bro, I can tell you're the real thing. I grew up in the streets. I
Is he
can
the guy
tell."
from Is he the Boston
Yeah,
guy?
yeah,
I like him. I watched it. I caught one of your videos. Yeah, he's the real deal. So what did he say? He came from the streets.
yeah. He says he came with the streets, but I can tell you're the real deal, Kroll, because like I get a good vibe check if somebody's
Hmm.
BSing, they're trying to be a con man or something like that, and or they're not genuine, and I can kind of gauge where you are. So I can tell you're the real deal because you put a lot of passion into this. And you even asked me, and I edited this clip out,
Hmm.
um, and I think I saved it because I didn't want it to be in the show. But he was asking, "Do you ever take a break?" And he says, you go full force, don't you? And I'm like, yeah, I
Yeah,
do.
you do.
I burn the candle on both ends. I don't really take a vacation. I'm doing this because this is a passion of love. And I can't stop in a sense because every other day something else is going down.
Hmm.
Yes, I get it. You have to be like Christ once in a while, take a nap in the boat, go to the forest or the wilderness and stuff like I get it. And I do.
Hmm.
But in the aspect for somebody like me, a people person, once in a while, I really would love to just talk to somebody
Yeah.
intellectual.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a sapiosexual. I would love to have a female that's intellectually at the same wavelength as me.
Yeah.
But alas, we're not living in a world that's like that, and to find something
Hmm.
like that is slim to none. Not saying it's impossible, just saying, statistically
Hmm.
speaking, it's very lonely trying to find something like that, right?
Yeah.
So when he was telling me that, I was saying, well, yeah. And then the next day I was reading, I think it was over in first, second, third John, somewhere in there. I think it was first John. And it was saying basically you'll be able to tell if somebody's filled with the Holy Spirit because of the words that they say and they're speaking. You'll be
Mm.
able to basically gauge the fruit is in you because you'll be able to tell by their conversation. And I
Mm.
can't remember the exact chapter and verse, but
That's
I
good.
screenshotted it and I sent it over to him. I said, this is exactly what you were talking about is I can tell the same thing with you because you don't have to put on a facade. You literally are bringing up scripture because it's something you live. It's not
Yeah,
just
me
something
too. I
you
could sense
cite
that
to
with him.
sound
Yeah.
good. It's something that's literally like this is what I believe.
Hmm.
And I may not be perfect in implementing it, but this is something that I'm going to try to explain, right? Give
Hmm.
context and clarity to scripture. That's the whole premise of Paul. The guy that was persecuting the early church, God takes away his sight. When he finally gives it back to him, imagine he's just like, do you understand and see me clearly now? Uh,
Mm.
okay, Mr. Torah guy, now that you get it, now you're going to explain to everybody else who are freaked out about you for persecuting him for a season. You're now going to give context and clarity of how to help the early ecclesia stay stable. And
Wow.
and for us today to still read that stuff and still glean just a tenth off of the letters that he was inspired off
Hmm.
to give context of what Old Testament is to how to live it as the ecclesia.
What part, what will you say that again? What part was that where where God took away the guy's side, and what
Paul, when on his way to Damascus, but he had a creed basically, decree
mm,
to um go and execute some Christians. I can't remember exactly where, but he was getting to Damascus to do some more persecution of the early church.
hmm.
And God blinded Paul or Saul on the road to Damascus, and in so doing, he says, Paul, why dost thou persecutest me? And he's like, what are you talking about? And again, Christ is saying, yeah, you're persecuting me because you're persecuting the true followers of the word. So
Mm.
if you're killing again, you're persecuting Christ, you're persecuting Christians.
Hmm.
You're hurting
Okay.
me because right because whoever fed me, you clothed me, and when I was naked, you clothed me. When I was hungry, you fed me. That paraphrasing of the verse, that's similar thing. If you're doing it to them, you're doing it to me. You're destroying my
Mm,
temple,
okay,
people that I
gotcha.
reside and dwell in. You are hurting me.
Wow. So he blinded him to show him that?
Well, again,
Yes.
this is my takeaway because he finally
Yeah.
gets to the other city and they have some gentleman. I can't remember the exact name. I'm sorry, folks. But he
Mhm.
has a gentleman come over and he heals Paul of the blindness so that he can see. But Paul was blinded for about 3 days after the
Really?
seeing Christ. He was blinded, and the two guys that were with him were like, "What the frick?" And they
Yeah, I
didn't
bet.
probably see what he saw. They were just like, "Well, okay, we'll get you to your destination." Dang, he's blind now. What do you think? I don't know, man. Maybe it was one of those demon spirit things. I don't. But he's
Yeah,
blinded. But then this guy goes on to be one of the early founding fathers in the church, and everybody's
I
going like,
heard that.
killing us. Why? But doesn't that make your testimony 10 times more relevant? It's like I read one meme one time. It says the people that were persecuted by Paul were cheering for him when he made it into heaven.
Really?
Well, think about it, dude. As a Christian,
Yeah, because he saw the light, so to speak.
right? You came to Christ. You saw the
Mm.
errors of your ways, despite taking the lives of so many innocent
Despite being
people.
so far off the path.
Right, and
Wow.
then now you just said, you know what? I'm going to run the race. I'm going to try to do my best to give context and clarity. And again, he goes to Mars Hill to debate with philosophers. Paul was
Well,
from Tarsus. He came from a city that was a region that was known for philosophy and
was
Torah.
that so?
Yes. And I'm
Well,
reading all these other things and I'm going, wow, it was not a coincidence that he said, I want you specifically,
yeah.
Saul. I want, again, Saul was there when Stephen the martyr was getting stoned. Everybody threw their cloaks at the feet of Saul.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then later on, just think about that for a
Well,
moment,
but,
dude.
well, and they now the thing that I think about is when I see these hardcore gang members or hardcore bikers that turn to Christ, and so maybe that's a similar analogy. Super
Yes.
bad dudes, come from bad area, and then they turn to Christ, and it's like that makes you cry too. So maybe that's the kind of an analogy that I think
Very,
about.
very similar. A corrupt politician, and you're just
Correct.
like, how the
Yeah.
frick does Saddam Hussein or like whatever? You're looking at
Yeah.
this going, how just this guy?
The
Yeah,
transformation
because you'll genuinely see it. There's other people that
more
they went
profound, so it's easier
go
to see, isn't it?
they
It's
go
more,
Jim Jones or Benny Hinn and stuff like that with faith healers and stuff like that. And you're just like,
yeah.
that's not Christ at all. That's
No.
grifting. But Paul was like, you know what? I'll give context and clarity. I'll help extort the early church and call out false teachers 8 times by
Mm.
names when everybody's saying you can't be judgy. No, we're again set them apart from your midst if they're causing divisions amongst you.
Mm.
I hate to tell people this, but I'm not saying to become a cult, but it was a little bit more of a, are you sure you're one of us?
Yeah.
We'll know you by your fruits. And again,
Yeah.
baptized in repentance or the Holy Spirit. This is asked like 4 times in the book of Acts. And what's the difference? Well, repentance is fine, application is paramount, but baptized in the Holy Spirit means you actually are going to let the Holy Spirit indwell you and you're
Mm.
actually going to live, right? This is the gift that he's offering us, right? Because like this,
Hmm.
like the early disciples, he gives them the
Yeah.
gift of the Holy Spirit, and this is the day of Pentecost when they're all able to speak, and everybody's able to hear the gospel in their own native tongues.
Yeah.
There's a
Well,
gift of the Holy Spirit being the intermediator, so I'll give you peace and confidence and clarity of what to say at the time that you need to say it, even if you feel like you don't have the words. He says, "I will give you that comforter to do so."
mhm. And it
This is
also
the gift.
feels, yeah, and the being able to see also, I notice, and again, I mean, I could be wrong, but I notice certain Christian pastors and people in the Christian community, and I'm like, you listen to them, and I'm like, you're inciting violence amongst men, you're inciting fighting, you're, sectioning off. I'm like, you're a bad dude.
Yes.
And then and they've got hundreds or 400, 500,000 followers. It's you.
Well, like you're reading that the comment that I read earlier,
Yeah.
never advocated for violence against the
Yes.
government.
Right,
However,
but they're attacking you.
right, unless they come to us, I
Mhm.
have no intention of drawing my sword. Not today. He who lives by the
Mm-mm.
sword dies by the sword. That's not my impulse move.
No.
The first thing is line of defense is, can I try to convert you with my character? Secondly, or in testimony, fill in the blank. If I
Yep.
cannot, and then for me, can I convert you with intellect?
Yes.
Right? Literature, history, something, right? And if I can't do it with that, well, then maybe if the situation calls for, okay, I'm going to sacrifice myself peacefully because maybe that one person that I know that's in this group arresting me or whatever, what have you, that might convince them to go, you went willingly. And not only that, I cooked him a
Yes.
meal before we left, as somebody actually did
Yes.
before when they came to pick him up. He says, let's have a last meal before we go. And he's like, we're here to pick you up and kill you.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. But before we do that, we're going to have a meal. What? So again, you have to gauge the situation, but sometimes you need to pull a Samson and say, God, give me strength one last time to make this temple of Dagon come
Yes.
crashing down. I
Yes.
don't know. I think it might be different for per person. There's other people that are messaging me. They know how they're going to die in the last day. For me, I have not had that.
That insight or that epiphany.
Oh, they have an epiphany, a vision. I don't know. Maybe there'll be a remnant that'll still be fighting here. Maybe that's me, because again, I'm not saying this is the case, and I'm not gonna. I'm
Mhm.
just saying, well-known beacon of light, sheltered from the storm. Maybe
Yeah,
there's
it needs to
with
stay
that.
lit for the long
Right.
time, as long as
I don't
possible.
know. I'm willing to die just as equally. I don't care. But that's neither here nor there. I'm just chuckling at the irony of the name and at
Yeah,
such a
just
time as this.
entertaining ideas that could
Maybe
possibly,
there's
yeah.
something there, right? And maybe you would need something radical. If you're gonna leave somebody behind, you're gonna want a fighter. You're not gonna want somebody that's gonna be like, I can't do
You
this.
have to be
No,
an army of one in order to
right,
hold down the
right.
fort. So everyone else,
I'm ready to go. Where do you want me to aim? You know,
everyone,
if
uh,
that's the case, and if it's not, I'm just as equally. I'm willing to die on this hill.
yeah,
Right?
you're
If I have
willing to
to be the
serve in the
last line
way
of
that you're being
defense
called.
for you to get past me. And
Mhm.
I think people, they don't really understand when you're reading that in the stories, like, oh, leave all the guns and ammunition with me, and run over the
Yeah,
hills and get them to those. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, I'm willing to do that, and I would want
yeah.
to. That would be my way to prefer to go down. Because I've told him, I said, dude, you already put me in a crap situation with my first round of parents, second round of
Mhm.
parents, even worse, buddy. I says
Ugh,
now. I've not had a wife. I've not been given it, and I'm not entitled. But I'm saying, after all
right.
that crap, would you please let me go down swinging as opposed to the slow, stupid stuff? Because it's been
Yeah,
slow for the last 5 years, and you're gonna have 3.5 years of this, and then we're gonna have tribulation, or like, just, dude, let me go down swinging.
yeah,
That's all I ask. After all of the crap I've been through, if you can't give me anything, just give me that. And again, folks, I'm not telling God he has to do what I say. I'm just saying, if it's possible,
right.
I'd like to
It's a
go out on
request.
those.
It's a request.
If I could have one request in
Yes,
anything in this life, if I can't have all my dreams and everything else, if that's the one thing I can plead, and not entitled, plead. I know it sounds stupid, but that's literally where I'm at. Like, I don't
yeah.
know.
No,
That's
I
what I
get it. I get
prefer
it.
doing.
It does. Well, then you also what you can kind of get a sense of how you're built and how you're being used for the cause by God,
Right.
so to speak. And and then you're like, okay, it's all makes sense leading up to this point about why
This is what
these
I was born
events.
for.
Yeah, this is what I'm born for. And all of us have that, moment. Like you said, some people are the healers, the chefs, the bakers, the animal husbandry. I mean, you got it all because it takes all those things, you know.
Well, dude, and like, everybody has their own gift and their own
They
MO, but I mean, I
do.
have, and I was telling my buddy this. I says, I didn't
And
have a dad figure to instill any of this stuff in me. This is literally all just
you came in with, well, it's
old
the seeds,
soul,
yeah, old soul, yeah.
old soul, self-taught, just a personal integrity thing. I'm not sure if it's like a genetic thing. 'Cause like I said, with the Finnish and the Viking and the Irish and Scots, I'm not sure if there's something in that.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm not saying some ancestral. No, I'm just saying maybe there's some kind of genetic instilled stubbornness,
Yeah.
of resilience and on like in a warrior's code. But also understanding the path of the Ronin, because I really do get, dude. There's a lot of people that talk a fancy talk, and I'm serving my master, and then when you press them, you're like, you're such a wuss.
Mm.
A real warrior respects another warrior. It's like, you know what? I'm probably gonna die today facing you, but I would respect you. Today, I see a lot of people like, I wouldn't even respect you if you get
Yeah,
the
it's a cult. Yeah, because they're breeding a culture of disrespect. They want the infighting.
yes.
They want the combativeness. And I even think they're putting, frequencies in the air to fritz with us. I mean,
Uh-huh.
they're going to use all weapons. Well, I know what I was going to talk about earlier, and this ties in right to what we're talking about now, is, and we've talked about this before, um, this notion of Sun Tzu Art of War, or any other lineage like the Ronin, like these other things, like when you
Right.
see it in the information war and the psychological war that we're in, and the financial and the spiritual, all of these things, being able to see these games, I didn't used to be able to see them, but once you can see them, then you can tell others, hey, they're doing this to you, watch out. They're doing that, you can guide people out of it and or help them avoid it, because that's what hurts my heart so much is when someone gets caught in a snare trap set by the enemy. And I'm like, oh man, don't, don't step on that. Our landmine gets them, spiritual landmine, financial landmine. I've been trying to tell people, hey, another collapse is coming. That's one of their favorite things is the financial collapses. You know, take certain measures to protect what assets you have so that you don't get hosed over, you know?
I mean, even if it collapses, are you willing to let go in a single day? Because what's the solution they'll
Yeah.
offer is going to be the chains that will bind you. That's the
Yes.
mark of the beast. It's convenient. You
Yes.
sacrificed your
They
soul.
want you on your knees. They have to have us on our knees.
So think about it. Are you familiar with Jacob and Esau?
Not very, no.
Jacob and Esau. Well, basically, Esau was the elder brother, and he had the birthright. So basically, he was the eldest. He was going to get the top inheritance. One day, Esau was coming back from hunting, and Jacob was making this bowl of soup. And Jacob didn't find anything hunting, and so he's like, "Hey, can you give me the thing of soup? I'm freaking starving. I'm gonna die." Blah blah blah. He says, "No, I'm not gonna do that." He says, "Come on, man. What is it gonna take for you to freaking feed your own freaking brother?" And he
Hmm.
says, give me your birthright."
Mm.
And so he does verbally, and he gives it away for a bowl of soup.
Wow.
And this is how it came. Instead of Esau, it was Jacob that ends up being the father, one of the founding fathers of Israel, Isaac,
Wow.
Abraham, and Jacob, and so that. Yeah, he was known as the trickster, but then later on, his dad was blind, and his dad was going to freaking bless Esau because he knew he was going to die. So he says, "All right, come on over." And he's like, "You don't sound like your brother, even though you said you brought me something for hunting." Says, "You don't
Mm.
sound like your brother." He says, "Come over here so I can feel you." And Esau was known to be hairy, so he put some like goat skin hairs on his arms. He wrapped them up. Some like,
Hmm.
"Feel me up, Dad. I'm hairy." He's like, "Okay," and then he gave his blessing on top of that. So he just double gave it away. That my brothers confirmed it, my dad did, and now
Mm.
I am the chief heir.
Wow.
So this is now what people are doing in a sense for currency, for
Hmm.
convenience. You're going to
That's the
sacrifice
thing.
everything on the altar of convenience with the mark of a beast because you
Yeah.
don't know how to say no at a snap of a finger, like the rich man. If you've
Yeah.
already been obeying all these laws, what must I do to be the perfect follower? Get rid of your coins?
Yeah.
Ah,
Well,
can't do that, can you? No, it's easier for a rich man to go through camel for to go through the eye of the needle than a rich man to enter the gates of heaven.
yeah.
That's America. What about my 401k? What about my savings?
Yes. Sort
And
of
then
my
you get a
stature in the
rapture on top of that?
I know, or my stature in the church, or my stature in the community, or my stature or my job that could really see. This is what sometimes, I've talked about this for a number of years. I've talked about this idea of life is like a game of chutes and ladders, and
Mm,
like you could be up high one day, and you could go be on a chute, and you're down low one day, and you could be down low one day, and you could find a ladder and go up high.
yes.
Sometimes the people that appear to have it all locked up in this life, the way of this world, it can shift in an instant for any of us. You go up, down, whatever. But some of the people, if the more entangled you are, and I like to use this idea of the devil's web of lies and deception, the more entangled you are in this web, the harder it is for you to break out. And sometimes I think, what appeared to be a blessing may be a curse, and vice versa. It's so wild.
And a lot of times, again, sometimes when you say you want God to help you, don't be surprised if He takes the obstacles out of your life, and that might be
Yes.
some of the toxic people, unfortunately, that you
Yes.
did not know was going to be later on backstabbing you. There was a uh somebody's writing it, but they're using an AI voice to like read it, but it was breaking down
Uh-huh.
like, to know if there's a narcissist in your life and stuff like that. And a lot of the verses that were popping up, I was like, yeah, they're mad at me because they themselves have never even started on their spiritual journey. And
Yes.
so they're becoming narcissistic because they're
And
seeing you
jealous.
actually producing fruit and they're living a
Yes.
lie and they're angry at you
They don't
because
like
you're
that.
actually getting up and doing and they're still sulking and doing nothing, right? And that's not the premise of what this again, the prodigal son. Dad, I'm already here. I'm already your great son. He wanted his inheritance before he left, and now you're going to give him a fatted calf for returning?
Hmm.
Yes, because I love my son, and despite him even leaving, I'm just glad to have him in my arms again.
Hmm.
Right? It's not the premise of who's better than thou. It's more the premise. I'm just grateful that you came back. And even Satan,
Yeah.
dude, I will ascend to be like the God Most High, right? Isaiah 14:14. Then he throws them down, right? And they
Mm,
allege possibly where he was tossed was Arizona, the hottest state, and
mm,
Phoenix, rise from the ashes.
mhm,
Maybe there's something there. I think there's a probability of that, just saying. But it did make me chuckle because it's like that's most of us, dude. When you start saying, I want to know the mind of God, alchemy, regeneration, transhumanism, fill in the blank of all this stuff, right?
mhm.
I want to know the mind of God. I don't want to know the mind of God. That's
Yeah, good
terrifying.
point.
I'm
Good
happy
point.
just knowing his heart. And how do I know his heart? I read his word, and that's his son. I am
Yeah.
happy just knowing this and reading a love letter from my beloved. I don't need to know your mind. I just need to trust that you know what you're doing, right? As a husband, I don't
Mhm.
understand why you're leading us this way, but I will
Yeah.
submit to you because that is the order of things, and I'm going to try to balance this out. Try to be equally yoked, because even if you don't understand the mind or the logic of
Yep.
masculine aspect, you're at least submitting to the aspect of this is your area of expertise. Same thing with a
Mhm.
woman. I am not good at making it like a home. I have a house,
Yeah.
right? Bachelor, very crap conditions. I'll admit it. There's warning signs over everything if a kid came in here.
Yeah.
But it's the aspect of she knows how to organize, she knows how to cook, she knows how to like do multitasking. And I brag about her in the city gates. The stuff in the Bible
Yes.
that talks about this.
Her
This is
strengths.
something I'm acknowledging 100%, and I love her immensely for it
Mhm.
because it is different from me. But my area of expertise, I need that support as well. And this is for
Yes.
everybody. Now I'm just again, everyone takes things out of context or whatever. I'm just making clarity statements here. That's what it should be as a Christian, and a lot of us are giving away our birthright because we don't understand what our purpose is supposed to be.
Yes. Well, and then like you said, they're giving it all up
For convenience.
knowingly or unknown. I was giving it all up unknowingly, and but when you have that moment, I don't know. I think I would like to assume that at some point in a person's life, God illuminates that the what's going on here for them, and then the $100,000 question arises: Are you going to walk away from this
Can you?
world? Can you walk away? I mean, and I
And
don't.
dude, that's where the
Ooh,
basic comes for me for like my mentor. I'm telling him that it's Trump, and he's going, no, no, he has to come from Assyria, the Antichrist figure.
mm,
And I'm going, okay, it was, it's voting for Trump. It has neither here nor there. It is.
yeah, it's
Putting up
still
a
the
bacon Christmas
system,
tree, you tell me is neither here nor there. It's just, again, these are micro
right?
things. These are
Right.
baby steps to get where I'm at. And you're saying I'm off the bandwagon, but you've never looked at the occult. Every
Yeah,
time I recommend an author, you look up a way to scrutinize the author so you never read the book.
yeah. They don't want to
Literally,
know.
what is that called? Judging a
Book by its cover.
thank you. You're by the author. I read the name of the author. I looked in the author. I don't like him.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You discredit the author, and then you don't have to take the
Thank
information.
you. You just that's judging a book by it's literally what people
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
As opposed again, like the Michael Parenti guy. I don't have to agree
It's a
with his final
defense mechanism.
conclusion.
It's a protection mechanism and a
Yes.
defense mechanism.
And then that's demonic. I
It
hate to
is.
tell people that
I
is a
would agree with that. I
stronghold.
didn't used to see it that way, but I do now.
Yeah, well, again, even with entertainment, what was the movie Wicked that came out?
Yeah, I never
Was it
saw it, but
Ariana Grande the one that's well,
yeah, very, 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 very.
he was even saying says I don't know, I'm gonna have to go back to the thing where they do the thing with my mind or whatever, blah blah blah.
I heard her say that. It's like, why are
And
you
I'm
doing that?
thinking because there was a time when Paul healed a girl that was demonically possessed and she was able to give fortune and predictions and stuff like that. He cast the demon out. Then the guy that had her, because she was a slave girl, he says, "Oh, now I don't have a freaking income."
Hmm,
Because the demon that was in her was
was
giving the
working.
prophecies, and now she just got freaking
Freed.
erased to the brain again, given her life back, and now
Hmm.
he doesn't have a vessel or an oracle, and so I want my damages back,
Compensation. Yeah.
right? Compensation for what you just did to her. But again, spiritual warfare wise, people are being
Yes.
entertained by someone that's being programmed.
Yes.
And does that bring the happy? No, she looks like she's got parasites, bro.
Yep.
Demonic parasites. And again, when my buddy Jack went like this, turn that off. A little dip towards the chin and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
A lady who's in Deliverance, Laura, she was telling me that's a common trope. Is that somebody when they go like this, that's a common trope that they're demonically possessed.
Really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm over here going, yeah, dude, you're not Christian. I don't
Yeah.
care if you're the pastor's grandson. I don't
Hmm.
care if you've said you've been this for 8, 10, 12.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your
If
lineage or where you came
if
from.
that's your response when somebody's insulting Christ, and you're not siding with the guy that's advocating, yeah, we need to start condemning things like this in the
Yeah.
world. You're actually going to
Yeah.
get mad at the guy saying, I don't support this. What does that say about you? Truly, if you look in the mirror, what does that say about you? Is either one, you're a coward
Yeah.
because you're not willing to advocate in the absence of Christ, right? Again, it's just like somebody was insulting you, and then somebody's talking crap about you, and I'm in the room. If I don't say anything, am I truly a friend? Well, unless I'm
Yeah.
undercover, there's no reason for me to do that. And the thing is, I'm not supposed to be undercover because, you know, you're my friend. So I would advocate in your defense in your absence, right? Because I'm a voice that's in the room. This is what you do for a friend or someone you love.
Yeah.
I don't see you doing that. And this is spiritually speaking. So if you don't truly love him, right, you'll know them by their fruits. Again,
Yeah.
your words told me where you're at, and I have to
Hmm.
dust off my sandals. I hate doing it because it's one of my only outcomes of having fun. But I
Hmm.
have to do it because I'm doing it for the kingdom of heaven. And there
Yeah.
I go, losing another friend.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Well, let's see where we're at here.
What, 220, 230?
Yeah, 220, 230-ish. Yeah.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad.
Not bad, not bad. And then we'll talk about some of these. At least we got some other topics that I think they'd be good topics in some of
Yeah.
our next shows. So
Folks, if you guys are interested in topics that you'd like Mark and I to start covering, feel
yeah.
free to either DM him or myself. Questions. If you want to insult us, that's fine. Prefer you just keep your mouth button up and leave. Unfollow if you don't like us. That's totally fine. We're just here trying to encourage the ecclesia and spark conversations. I think the relationships would be a good one, and then how to cultivate.
Community is
Yeah,
also
cultivating how to cultivate in a community, community cultivating or whatever. We'll figure out a title for that.
yeah.
Um, and then after that, we would like to branch off and start interacting more with the audience. So maybe an email we could set up, stuff
Yeah.
like that. You can find me on the Mana Daily Podcast, Spotify, Rumble, YouTube, and if you can, Patreon. And then Mark, for my peeps, would you like to tell them where they can find you?
Sure. I'm everywhere at G Mark Phillips, YouTube, all social media, on Odyssey, and a little bit of Rumble too. So, but everywhere at G Mark Phillips.
Cool, cool, cool. Until the next time, folks, we will catch you on the next one.
Have a great day.